happy, but I'm not. Hey, welcome to the Blackout Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we are live on a Saturday, ready to do some podcasting right in the middle of the lunch hour. You can find us everywhere that you find podcasts. Look in the show notes. That's how you leave feedback. That's how you get your voice heard on the show. And that's what we're about to get into today. It's a feedback show, guys. That's what we do on Saturdays around here. Um, without further delay, just leave us 5-star reviews.
We
Okay.
like them.
We love those 5-star reviews. It helps the show out. We like to hear the feedback. We try to make sure we read all of them as long as they're 5 stars, as long as they're nice,
Yes, sir.
even if you got to be critical, at least be constructive with it,
Come on.
Plus, we leave other places for you to be critical, emails and stuff, but be nice on the 5-star reviews, okay? That's all we're asking.
That's all. We don't have high demands over here.
Yeah. But also there are people who give us money. Okay. There are people that take the time out to go to our website, theblackguywhotips.com. On the right-hand side, turn your phone sideways if you have to. There's a place where you can give us money. You can donate to the show one time, recurring times, any denomination is fine. And we give you the shout out no matter what. So let's shout those people out.
May I have your attention? You are now listening to Charlottesville, Rod and Karen. We welcome the good folks who tie to the Black Guy Who Tips.
That's right. New money, new honey. Let's talk about it. Jane, recurring donator, Jane M, Laura E, Bomani Jones, y'all know him, Noel W, Nick Z, Sonia B, Pete B, David from Brooklyn, Johanna M, Pretty Ricky, what they call him, Ricky A, Douglas R, Cavis D, Laura F, Chris from Hawaii, Corey the Tickler, April G, Tabitha M, and Alexis H. Thank you so much, everybody. Took the time out to donate to the show. We appreciate y'all. All right, let's talk about the people that left us 5-star reviews. Okay. So I think something's happening where we're getting the reviews later than y'all are posting them, because both of these say they're from the 11th and 12th, and that's over 10 days ago. I really do not remember reading these last two reviews. Maybe I did, and we just reading them again, but y'all let me know.
Yeah, I think that they're posting them late, but when they come in, the day that the person submitted it is the date that they posted, right?
So the first one is from Lil Pistol Grip. This is why I'm like, I don't remember this. I would have laughed about that.
I don't remember Pistol Grip.
Little Pistol Grip says, Reformation 5 stars. I used to be dirty on these podcast streets, just selling my body, giving my ears to any podcast with sound. AirPods on the nightstand, all waxy from use. Testify. Then I found the Church of Rod and Karen. Now I'm free from busting my ear flaps all the way open to some strange cast I barely know. I'm a changed man. I go to sleep and have breakfast with my podcast. We out in public together. Don't speak to us.
Shit, I like this love affair.
You love to see it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that's what we hear. We trying to get y'all off of the streets and get y'all into the pews. All right.
Awkward trying to get y'all live them straight and narrow podcast lives.
If that's what you want, the rest of y'all, if y'all need to bust it open on Saturday and come in here on Sunday, that's fine. We gonna get you eventually. Funny from Awkward CC says, when you say is the easiest money I made since I was hooking, I crack up every time. 3 laughing emojis. Thank you. I feel like I've only said that one time, but sure. Thank you, everybody who left feedback, left the 5-star reviews.
Thank you. Y'all. We do.
Let's get into the comments that you left on our website. The blackouttips.com is the website. You can also put tbgwt.com. It'll take you there as well. So the first episode was our feedback episode. It was episode 2694 from BGOL to TBGWT. And Appia says, Karen and Rod, if you are ever in the Frankfurt airport, tell me. We live 25 minutes from it, and you are always invited to visit. Meet the Appia family.
Oh, if we ever make it out there.
It's very nice of you. I feel weird about layover visits, and here's why. The airport is never a convenient place to meet. It's a hub of leaving or going, but it's not a hub of hanging out. You know what I'm saying? Like I've had friends that stop in Charlotte and be like, I'm in your city right now. I'm like, oh, what's up? Where you at? And it's like, at the airport. I'm like, nigga, that's like telling me you might as well be on the airplane. The fuck I'm supposed to do with that information?
Particularly, I don't know how it is where you have here, but particularly where we are, it's like, nigga, I can't even go in there unless I got a fucking ticket. Like, you're gonna have to come outside.
Yeah, there's no place like you can catch an Uber and meet me somewhere, but if you're not, and I don't blame you if you don't want to do that. I don't think that's reasonable.
Right.
But it's like if you in my city for an hour at the airport, you're really not here.
No, you're not.
You know, you're in a transient state,
a transitional phase.
Yeah,
of the airplane.
Like I guess, shout out to you, you know, but we're not gonna do anything.
That's not enough time to do anything, dog.
I like stop. I don't know. Anyway,
it's just hilarious when people do say that.
Yeah,
and you be like, "Well, I'm at the airport. I got a 30-minute layover, nigga. I can't make that."
Yeah, it could be 3 hours, and it's still. I'm not paying for airport parking. I'm not taking an Uber for them to drop me off so I can walk around the airport hoping to see you, even though I don't have a ticket. You can't come out.
Nope.
I can't go in.
Right.
Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Because if you come out, you got to go through the process all over again.
You got to go all the way back in. Yeah. Like, it's very inconvenient. Like,
it's just hilarious when people say that, like, that's a convenient thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's never planned. It's never like they hit me up like 3 days before and be like, I'm going to be in your city for 8 hours. It's always like, hey, man, I got a layover. What you doing? I'm like, I'm living my life. Anyway, no comments on the YouTube. Let's check the Spotify, and then the poll. The poll is: do you watch the NBA playoffs? Yes, a lot, a little, or not really. 38% a lot. I'm in definitely a lot category. 32% a little.
That's me, because I be dozing off to sleep and shit.
And 29% not really. And then let's check the poll on the Spotify, and it's 21% a lot, 21% a little, and 58% not really. So way more people that don't really watch it over there with the moneyed people.
They got shit to do. They probably place bets.
Ass and Mo Ass 5 was the comment.
What a name.
James says the last thing I want to watch is an amateur porn scene where they have an NBA playoff game playing on their TV set. Also, there are way worse porn titles. Please don't Google ghetto gaggers. Yeah, I feel like, first of all, porn is so fucking weird because clearly it's in our subconscious somewhere that somebody wants to see that shit because it's still around. You know what I mean? Like I feel like porn is this thing where everyone can only talk about what they don't like or are disgusted by in public.
Yeah.
But clearly behind the scenes, some math is mathing to where, like, because porn titles go defunct all the time because people ain't watching them or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Clearly some of these motherfuckers got staying power because there's some people that's into that shit.
Yeah, some genres just never go away. They might call them different things, but you like, oh, I know that's what they used to call that, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, but clearly, like, somebody want to see that shit. I don't know who or why or what. And I'm not even, and I swear to God, I'm not judging. Yeah. Most people say they not judging. They really be lying. Like, all this stuff is bullshit. We're so conflicted about sex as human beings. Like, puritanical church shit is fucking us up. Moralistic shit. Our politics is fucking us up. Our virtue signaling, like aspirationally, what we want people to think we're into.
Right.
All that stuff is fucking people up. Shame is fucking us up. How we feel about sex work versus how we feel about the people that consume sex work. Right. All of that stuff is extremely, like, we're extremely hypocritical, and I rarely see people talk about it in this way. But it is very much that, you know, it's don't kink shame, but then the second anything is 1 degree away from some shit you into, you shaming. Like,
yeah, and I've seen people publicly do that a lot where you be like, okay, cool. Like it's one of the things where I'm like, yeah, do what you want to do, love what you want to love. But if for them personally, if it's something outside their realm, they'll do the same thing that they claim that everybody else is doing.
We also assume anything somebody's watching, they're secretly either into or they're hiding a secret or they would do that shit. which I don't think is true. You know,
No.
I think a lot of fantasy is escapism and stuff. I think there's a lot of
Yes.
deep shit about it. I just stick to the jokes because it's just easier to make fun of it, because I know deep down everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Even if they don't want to admit it, they're like, oh yeah, that is funny, because we all do watch that shit.
Yes, sir.
But I just think honestly, at this point, you're probably the weirdo if you're not if you don't watch porn. People are probably more wary of you than if you do. So who fucking knows now? But yeah, it's funny when you say don't Google ghetto gaggers. I'm not into it. You know, I've seen those videos. It's not my thing.
Mm-mm.
But when it's still happening, it's like, well,
Yes.
somebody is into this shit.
Yes, they are. A lot of somebody's.
Yeah. Nelson says, yo, you took me back with the BGOL message board. I downloaded so much porn from there. Me too, bro. I used to pornography on there. Now I think that's what the board was basically for. You know what else I downloaded off of there? Music, mixtapes, like movies, like that. It became the plug when I was in like college and shit. It was like you could go on there and find like, you know, the DJ Clue mixtape from 1998 that you could only get at the bootleg for like one summer.
Right.
You could find that shit and it could be like 2004. So it was like they just had shit. And of course, being that it was Black Girl Online, there's like an affinity within the circle of people. You know, you're talking to mostly like Black people or people that like Black women sexually, because a lot of them don't like Black women for real.
Right. They just
like most men.
Yeah, they like them sexually. Yes.
Yeah, like most men, they don't like women. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm here to jack off, but man, I hate bitches. And you're like, all right, well, I did.
Right.
But
Yeah,
also, like,
you be looking like, yeah, you the same person to be scaring off the hoes. Talking about where the hoes go, nigga, you scared them off. The hoes don't like to be around places where they don't feel safe.
Yeah, I think also this is one of the reasons like internet culture has always fascinated me, because I can look back and see the inner workings of like hotep movements from those boards, Gamergate stuff. Like you see like where people started going down those paths, and a lot of that's through online social media connections and stuff. And then Top Flow just says they don't make them like they used to. I know. That is funny. Like West Coast Productions, who used to make all this like popular Black porn, you know, and I'm sure like there's we'll never get it because they're Black, but man, what I would do for like a behind the scenes expose, because there's so much shit that happened with porn, Black porn at that time,
right,
that is fascinating to me. You know, there was a dude that had like HIV and on the set at one point, and nobody else got it because they just like shut that shit down. And I think he's still alive somewhere, but he can't work in the industry anymore.
Right.
But like, it's funny because Black people don't have the budgets and the opportunities. But I'd love someone to take a behind the scenes of just not just porn, but like the Black porn that was popular, and be like, what happened to this company? You know, how did us downloading this shit fuck up their money? How did you know, there's scandals with like Mr. Marcus and stuff, and like it's just a bunch of shit that I'm like curious about that you've heard stories behind, but nobody's ever, because of shame. Yeah, because of shame and because of you know, the fact that it's, you know, Black, you're never gonna get an expose. But I bet people are interested in that shit even if they don't know, or it's like if they heard the story, they'd be like, oh, that is interesting, but they'll never know.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, you know, you want to know. And when a lot of people, because of their personal hang up on porns, they fail to realize porn stars actually are safer than the general population, because they are literally tested all the time. When you got niggas out here that know they got shit, they won't get their ass tested to find out what the fuck they got, you know. And it's more people walking around here with shit that know and you know, just fucking people are not saying don't go get tested, but they're like, no, my job, I have to be tested, so I have to be clean.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's get to the next episode. Episode 2695, Critical Base Theory. We got 3 comments on here. Appia says, I see nothing wrong with what the school psychologist did. He's the one that made the kids write their obituaries. Talking with 16, 17-year-olds about death and life reviews is even in countries with little gun violence is a good idea. It's not like teenagers aren't confronted with death, even if it's not their own death.
Right.
They have older family members talking to them about their lives, might be interested and rewarding, and it's something that will affect everyone someday.
Yeah. On the side, people act like they don't want to talk about it, but what about some of these children who actually might need help for the fact that COVID took out a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts. And so for people to be like, well, we don't want to talk about death. Well, if these children, a percentage of them, particularly here in the States, particularly if you're black and brown, had a higher percentage of losing family members to this. Yeah, they have been confronted with death. Like you said, not their own, but death is around them. And people act like you're just supposed to protect children from death at all costs, but you can't. No matter how hard you try, you just can't. And so, it's just one of those things where you don't want to scare them, and it is an appropriate age to bring it to them for them to kind of analyze it a little bit more in depth and try to be like, hey, you know what, think about your actions, think about your future, don't do dumb shit and stuff like that, because a lot of young people, include myself, up until you get into your early 20s, you almost think you're invincible till you realize you're not.
Yeah, I just think anytime we're talking about death and stuff like this with kids, I keep coming back to, I could almost understand where you're coming from, except that we are literally letting these kids go to school thinking they will be killed by gunfire every day. So to me, you lost the argument of, we got to fire this guy. He's got kids thinking about death. Well, every time we do an active shooter drill, and I know that the people in the government won't ban assault rifles, won't do anything to curb the kind of people that can get a gun and shit, it really makes me feel like the kids are already thinking about death. So why are we even in denial right now?
Right. And it's bullshit, because now, and I said it before, and I'm seeing kind of more of this. You have a generation of children that are living long enough to be in 2 and 3 mass shootings, be it at school, be it in public and shit like that. So you have a generation where, hey, they was thinking about this and they've been thinking about this, and this is their second or third time, and some of them possibly may just barely be teenagers in their early 20s. So yeah, they're going to be thinking about death because of the policies and procedures you make. So us talking about it is worse than somebody actually coming up and shooting up the school. It makes no sense.
Yeah, the school shooters have grown up with school shootings now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long it's been happening at this point. Like, the kids who shoot up the schools are the kids that went through the drills. Sean says, I agree with y'all on the psych teacher actually doing the right thing. Active shooter drills are traumatizing for many children, but providing support beforehand and considering mortality is good for the students' mental health. About 1 in 5 teenagers have seriously contemplated suicide before graduating high school. So it's not like, even without the insanely high number of school shootings, interacting with death is a reality for many high school students. A gender nonconforming friend of mine in high school took their own life when I was in high school. Would a class on considering mortality and grief have been helpful before that happened? Hell yeah. Unfortunately, it happened in Florida, which is a right to work for a lower salary and worse conditions and be fired on a whim state. So not sure how much recourse the teacher will have. EV says, if I see a guy throwing money in the street to a giveaway and a bunch of other people are grabbing it, I most likely wouldn't give it back. But if the family is asking for people to return it, I'm not going to lie, I would be checking their social media accounts first before determining if I will or not. If they're MAGA, I'm keeping that shit. But it sounds like your default would be to give it back if they're not, though. Interesting. So here's the poll. Would you have given the oh wait, I'm sorry. One more comment on YouTube. Tamik says, was the chicken fry hard? Took me all the way down. But the Jesus had a fish fry made me wheeze. Karen, you are legit hilarious. You don't need not one course program lesson. You are just funny.
Oh, thank you, baby.
I agree. And then the poll, would you have given the highway money back to the family? Yes or no?
Oh, I thought you asked me this. No.
Okay, Karen would have kept the money.
Yeah, because like you say, I couldn't be like realist. This is a hypothetical world that we made up when we was having this conversation. Mm-hmm. So no, because one of the things where I'd be like, no, I'll give you this money back and now I'm arrested. I'm good.
Right. And you took it in the first place in the hypothetical world, but you wouldn't give it back. So 21%, 22% say yes, 78% say no. They're with Karen on this one. Let's check what they believe on the website. Same exact percentage. So, wow, people would not get the money back. I hear y'all though.
Yeah, because like I said, in the quote unquote real world, I wouldn't touch it at all.
I know, but we're talking about a
Mhm.
hypothetical world where we took it, so I hear it. White family. Target is having a reparations sale. That's the comment.
Oh shit!
The white family says, "Let's be real. Somebody throwing $200K out the window. That's white people news. Black folks ain't that trusting of our family members with that much money." Vita says, "I heard the price is so low, it's a real punch in the face." Wow.
Oh, that's good.
Jane says, "Imagine spending on those reparation sale items with your Harriet Tubman dollar bills at Target." Right. Aaron Gullich says, "If it's a real reparation sale, the whole store should be free for black people." Well, that's what got that lady in trouble. It got so 808.
Oh, yeah, it is. Because she came in there, she was like, "I don't know what y'all talking about."
Right.
It was a 5-figure discount for everything.
I got receipts. The receipt you paid for my great grandfather, nigga. I want my free shit.
I got the receipt, the boat, the chains.
My family last name is Target. How you think we got Target as a last name? Ain't no Targets in Africa. Got 808 says, "I was operating a crane when the sword ratchet's audio messed up and rod went off, and I had to stop the machine because I was in tears. I really needed that laugh." Thank you. I don't even remember what happened with the audio that got messed up.
I remember it was playing the commercial in the background. You're trying to get it to stop.
Yeah.
It was just playing.
People love mistakes. I mean, honestly, I don't. I love it. Brings us all back down to even because it's like,
yes, nobody's perfect.
I can sit up here for hours to try to think of something like funny, and I get paid money to be funny and all this stuff, and then I could just be like, "Oops, I played the wrong sound," and it's like, "God damn, I almost died on the crane at work." All right, the next episode is 2696. Chat GPT wrote this. Jamil says, "Just from hearing the details, it's clear to me that Tori Spelling is a no washcloth and just let the water run down her legs white."
Oh, no.
The evidence is the evidence. Abia says, "I checked the winning afro out and it is impressive." EVE says, "TripAdvisor isn't the only one guilty of fake reviews. Have you ever gone on Yelp and you see a place highly rated, then you go there and the food looks nothing like the pics and don't taste anything like it's described? That's why I don't trust reviews anymore." Oh yeah, I was trying to tell Karen this, and when we were in New York, New Yorkers don't write in. Okay, I know that it's just, I don't know. I just haven't been to the part of town or whatever. But
right
on DoorDash, she wanted to order like some sushi, and I was like, "Yeah, I've had the sushi here before, and you really can't trust it off of DoorDash reviews." And she was just like, "It's Karen. She's gonna do what she wants to do, whatever I said anyway." And so it got there and it was mushy and she didn't like it.
And it got there quick too. I was like, "The fuck is this? I know you can't make sushi this quick," which was raised all types of red flags. Like, the fuck is this?
Right. So she had to learn from her own experience, even though I had, my experience. And I, of course, let her order what she wanted to order. And then I ordered some different shit because I was like, I know it's going to be whack when it get here. And it was whack when it got there.
It was whack. They pulled that shit off a shelf that's been sitting there 3 days. I was like, "The fuck is this?" That shit was soft and mushy. It was like everything they described. They took it, they blended it up together and put some rice wrap around it. Fuck them.
It was whack and not good, and she didn't finish it, and it was expensive and all this stuff, but it's fine. My point being, you're absolutely right. You can't trust those reviews, and I think it's Yelp, it's DoorDash, it's everywhere. You can't truly trust the reviews 100% of the time. She says, "I usually go to places by word of mouth, or if I want to try it myself because the menu looks interesting. I don't even pay attention to the bad reviews because people are so petty and will give places bad reviews for the pettiest reason." Yeah, that's true
they
too.
Will. Yeah, I've seen them. Well, I'm reading. Some of the. I was like, I get through. I was like, "Well, bitch, this is kind of your fault. Like, this shit was beyond no control. Like, I don't get." Or it was even weird. They do that shit where they'll praise it and then be like, "I give it 2.5 stars." It's like, "Well, read this. You like the shit. Why did it get 2 of that?" Like it doesn't connect to my brain sometimes. Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they'll be like, "I wanted my egg roll raw and they cooked it 1 star or whatever." And you're just like, those are not reasonable expectations. But anyway, I don't even pay attention to the bad reviews. I'm not sure reviews hold the same value they used to. Well, that's true, and maybe they never did. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that's true too. I've seen I think it was years ago a dude I think it was like a YouTube page, and they do like the reviews, and they was telling how you could tell a really good like Korean and like Japanese place like authentic, and they was like, don't be going to the ones with the top stars. I think they go to the ones that have like 3.5 stars, and it was like the food is flames. And they was like, the reason why is they said because white people go to these places and they'll give it bad ratings because they're not used to the food and they're not accustomed to the food, so they're just trash it. When in reality, it's actually really good food. I was like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I never thought about that. I was like, but that makes sense. And on top of that, a lot of times these places that give places 5 stars, this is I mean, Roger, you go and you get the food and you be like, oh, this is white people good. This shit be bland. It don't be seasoning. Like, it is a difference between what white people rave about and what like other people rave about.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'll eat at a soul food place that got bad reviews many a time because I really be, I'd be excited if I read a review of a soul food place and it's like terrible customer service, food took too long, server had an attitude. I'd be like, fuck, I know that food good, because how the fuck they in business
for so long?
You can't have shitty food and be in business with shitty customer service. Like, it don't add up, especially black business forever. I'm like, oh, this bullet holes in the window, let's fucking go. You know, the comments on YouTube. My mom says like the Guess the Race segment was fire. Phil says Little Shop of Horrors was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Me too. Tipsy with Fee says hella off subject. Y'all's Walking Dead reviews are so damn amazing. Did you guys finish reviewing season 11? Your reviews keep me laughing as I begrudgingly watched the last season. The reviews have enhanced my viewing experience by tenfold. Think I'm watching these last episodes so I can listen to your reviews. We haven't watched them yet. We still haven't been spoiled of them either. We do plan on doing it at some point. It's just I've just been very busy, and it's a little bit of work to do them because I don't just watch them. I have to keep all my notes and everything, and I just haven't been in a mental space of wanting to do it at the moment. But I do plan to do it. All right, let's get to the episode on Spotify. Which I apparently just realized I named differently than the episode on our website.
How's that?
Well, the episode of Spotify is Chat GPT Apology. The episode on our website is Chat GPT Wrote This, which I can fix right now by editing it. Let's go with the Spotify title. Let's go with Chat GPT Apology. Yeah, so on Spotify, we got I'm sorry, I didn't say what the poll results were on our website. Yeah, so the poll for this episode is, was it wrong to ask the woman to pick up the popcorn on the airplane flight? Because I legitimately do not know the answer to this.
Right,
this is a legit, I realized as we were talking about it, and I know people are up in arms one way or the other. It's a divisive thing on social media. I saw something today about Southwest had a flight. Someone spilled rice all over the fucking aisle of the plane. And the Southwest attendant was like, who did this? And went individually asking people if they did it. No one would confess to it. And the plane did not take off for an hour because someone wouldn't just admit it was them.
What?
Yes. And once again, I get how people would be annoyed by this, but also, nigga, I'm not your maid. I don't know that flight attendants are supposed to be janitors. That's not something I've ever heard. And if I'm a flight attendant, I can see why I wouldn't want to be the fucking janitor. You know? Anyway. Was it wrong to ask? Yes, 42% say it was wrong to ask, which means 58% of people think it was not wrong to ask that person to clean that shit up. And the exact same percentage on Spotify, basically 40 and 60, which is 40% yes, 60% no. So it sounds like people think, it's not out of line to say, yo, you clean that shit up. You on the plane fucking shit up. You got popcorn everywhere. What are you doing?
You know what I mean? I would have been picking it up before they even asked because I'd have just felt bad.
That's the part to me that is weird is And I think, it's projection of all kinds in this situation since we don't have it on tape. We weren't there.
Right.
But I definitely feel that level of like, oh, that's entitlement. When your kid is fucking shit up on the plane, you don't even pretend to want to pick it up. What the fuck? The world is not your kitchen. You don't get to just, you can have a nasty ass kitchen, but that don't mean the rest of us got to live in it.
Right. And that's why the thing that sparked it off, but they was like, look, we tired of dealing with your kids putting fucking Cheerios in the high chairs. Now we get rid of all these fucking high chairs that take up so much goddamn space and shit like that. So from that perspective, I understand, because they was like, nigga, I get paid $2.13 an hour. And I remember going in and having to clean them nasty, yucky ass high chairs because people just let their children smush everything in them.
Just slap a rainbow on it. The marketing department. That was our episode Q&A. Jay Adamo says, yeah, a cleaning crew comes after you land. They have even come on the plane and begin cleaning the front seats as the back of the plane deboards. Okay, I didn't know that. Typhlosion says upgrades, people upgrades. Raphael says, maybe that's what I was missing back in the NFT days. I should have slapped some rainbows on it and got white liberals money. We will never know that I'm delivered. I embrace Chat GPT to sell naked pogs on Rainbow. I don't even know what this means. That I think that was my
that
Chat
went
GPT.
left. I think that was.
Dorina says, my mom is a flight attendant. They are there to make sure you get off the plane safely in case of emergency. They ain't there to clean up after you pick that shit up yourself. Okay, that's what I'm, to be honest, without knowing, I had always assumed.
Me too.
That like, if I made a mess on the plane, it's not their responsibility. Anyway, Coach Malik says, I mean, unless I can see like, maybe if you had like an emergency mess, like if someone threw up or something, like they'll get you a bag or so. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think they janitors. I don't think they're supposed to be doing all that. The coach says, we travel with 3 young kids and it gets messy. We do our best to clean up after them, even though the staff will usually say it's okay. Plus, these kids need to learn to clean up after themselves. Yeah, I think that's the other thing too, is like the do your best to clean up after them, tell them to clean up themselves. I think a lot of times when people see that happening, they're less hard on you. They're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll get it later. Or,
it's more understanding because at least you chipped in or you did something, and they was like, okay, this is less shit for me to clean up. Like, I'm cool with that, but you just basically turning over a bag of rice on a fucking plane, scattering everywhere, and be like, fuck it, that's a problem.
Yeah. We had Lil Braries, who's our episode with Mike Kaplan as a guest. Appia says, I also don't believe in the alpha male stuff. Does this make me an alpha male? I guess not. Is there something like an alpha female? Actually, technically, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, is it? Yes. I've heard people talk about that online.
I was going to say, technically, in a lot of the stuff that people claim alpha males, like lions and wolves and shit, a lot of times it be the women that's the actual leaders of those packs and stuff. So it's people just be literally fucking talking all this gender role shit, all this patriarchal shit, all this fucking relationship broad sweeping advice. Motherfuckers really just be fucking saying anything, and people eat it up because they need to hear something, and it's mostly an exercise in confirmation bias. Whatever you already kind of believe like that is what you're willing to entertain, or what you can be led to believe that everybody else believes is what you're willing to entertain. But yeah, a lot of this shit don't actually make sense. And none of these niggas are like scientists. They just read a book. In the animal world, it is for sure. The naked mole rats have them, for example. The alpha female naked mole rat stresses the other females so much that they become infertile. How mean? But also may be helpful in the U.S. today with reproductive rights for women in danger. Brooklyn Shoebay said this episode was so deliciously delightful, and Rod and Mike's wordplay made me laugh multiple times. I hate that alpha male shit, by the way. The alpha in nature is usually female. This idea on the alpha male came from a flawed study about the hierarchy in wolf packs. There's no alpha male or female in human hierarchies because a human has a different status in the group depending on the situation. For example, reporting to a boss at work or yielding to the police. Alphas in nature, if you must call them that, are diplomats. They're not loud. They don't look for fights or conflict. They collaborate with the other animals. I don't understand black men in particular and their desire to have women or other men be submissive to them, whatever submissive means. I could go on, but you have talked about this before, and I don't want to bring down the mood too much. Thanks for a great episode. Mike, I also have many books I haven't read yet. I'm stupidly hopeful that I will. And for light reading later is a link about Discover Magazine, Science of Alpha Males and Animal Species. Evie says, it's always good when Mike is on the show. He's very engaging. I think Marquise Houston is just one of those types of men who can't handle a mature woman because they want to be able to talk to and do whatever the hell they want. And a younger woman is most likely to put up with his bullshit that an older woman won't.
Right.
It feels very predatory when significantly older men seek out barely legal women as their partners. If I'm not mistaken, he's been problematic for a while, including the allegations against him molesting one of his former group mates. Ooh, I had not heard that. The news about Jonathan Majors is pretty disappointing because he was on the cusp of being huge and he's talented, but there's no way your PR firm would drop you if things behind the scenes weren't really bad. Plus, more victims are stepping forward, which is never a good sign. I actually think Marvel recasting Kang the Conqueror's role would actually be quite easy without much explanation, considering how the multiverse works. Not all Kangs have to look alike or even be the same gender.
Oh, they sure don't.
Yeah, especially after Loki and stuff. Here's the thing for me though. His PR people dropping him to me is just like damning as fuck, and his management team. But then his lawyer is like, we have video of the woman that accused him of beating her out and about later that night with no physical signs of like bruising or harm or anything. And once again, I don't know that anyone's seen the video. They just say they have it. And I think just context clues at this point. If your career is on the line like this, where you losing everything, I don't know how, and you claim there's some video that exonerates you. I don't know how we haven't seen that video if that's the real truth. And now maybe a reason will come out later that makes sense.
Right.
That's the thing about reserving judgment. I can always change it. It just looks real bad right now, but maybe that video exists in a way that we'll be like, oh fuck, she really attacked him and he just got out the car and got away from her. What the fuck is she talking about? Maybe one day we'll see that. If that is the truth, I don't know why we haven't seen it already. That's all I'm saying, because that's crazy to lose your whole career and just be like, yeah, I got the evidence that I'm completely innocent, but I just don't want to, it'll be a to-do or whatever. Like, what could it be?
Not to do. You
losing everything. What could it fucking be? Anyway, I guess we'll find out the answer to that one day or not.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, that I've noticed with the Jonathan Majors thing, once again, this is how my brain works. This is just what I notice about people. It's the flipping of sides, right? There were a lot of black men who were not fucking with this dude, because of the image he was portraying in his media run for all these movies he's doing. And he was doing, and I'm not saying every black man, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know what I mean. There was a specific type of black man. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about. That was like, why this nigga wearing feathered boas? Why he dressing like anime characters? Why he hugging up on Michael B. Jordan and all the fucking promos for this shit? I'm tired of this shit. Y'all trying to emasculate the black man.
I've seen a lot of that.
Right. And so I saw that people were fighting about it. I did not participate in it because I find that drivel to be beneath me. At this point, if you don't know where I stand on those things, you're the fucking idiot. And if you need me to re-stand upon it for you to have some more content, then you're lacking the faith in what you believe in. I don't subscribe to that, black men shouldn't be touching and smiling shit. That's stupid.
I'd be like, child to ghetto and keep it pushing.
Anyway. Now, and then there were people that were loving him for that. These aren't even really quotes or sayings or interviews for real. Like, they weren't really uplifting the things he was saying as much as they were uplifting the image he was portraying, which is, look at this black man touching, like, he's wearing, he's
not scared of his feelings.
He's wearing a little bit of clothes and he's super buff, and it looked like he got a blouse on, but his pectorals is out here giving us cleavage, like there was that type of
because it was the when he was doing Lovecraft Country, a running joke about his t-shirts being too tight tees.
Yeah, so it's like a lustful but funny thing. It's almost always it's obviously a double standard, but it's cute when women are lusting over men doing shit. Like, we we've, it's to some level, even if it's kind of cliche, it's a bit seen as empowering. Like, look at this, we're objectifying him and he wants to be objectified, and this is what's up. There's nothing creepy or bad about it at all. And so it was like a feel-good moment for one side of the equation, and obviously these other niggas was mad. Then the allegations come out. Yo, people couldn't flip sides bad enough.
Like, not both groups are on the opposite side.
It was fast. It was like, this motherfucker always been trash. I knew something was wrong with him the whole time. Like, how? You were just telling me he was the hero that black masculinity needed. Y'all were writing fucking think pieces and everything. And you other niggas was calling him all kinds of fucked up shit and saying he was being used as a tool to emasculate the black man. What does it say to you that you're now supporting him with the idea that maybe he put his hands on somebody, or he's being accused of putting his hands on somebody? Now he's back into the black masculinity camp. What does that say about the way you view black masculinity?
Come on.
That you're welcoming him back with open arms. And what does it say about castigating and throwing him out based off of an allegation that we don't really have anything other than, for now, we don't have the physical, like the actual evidence and stuff like that. It says a lot to me on both sides of just like this. I don't think it's equal, but it says a lot about both sides of how shallow and performative a lot of the love and hate of this dude is. And because you're now performing the opposite way, which to me is still not really about him. It's about what he represents. So that's what that whole situation made me think about. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how that. I can't imagine what the out is for this motherfucker if he did that shit. And then the last thing I'll say too is, if one more you motherfuckers cherry picks a couple white dudes to be like, but what about this? Fam, it's white dudes, especially during the Me Too movement height, that did lose everything faster for less.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? This whole, like, if he was white, nigga, if he was white and this shit happened, he's done. Period. If there's a tape of the shit too, it's just what it is. Especially if you're not established. Like, if you maybe been in the game a long time, there's people who will be so emotionally and invested monetarily in you that they'll be like, oh fuck, well,
you need to lay low for a while and come back, right?
Brad Pitt, just don't say nothing, like I can see that. But we talking like these motherfuckers have the rise and fall all the time, and honestly, we don't even know what fall means for him because it's really just starting. He could be back working in 6 months to a year, and we'll be like, oh yeah, like people always bring up like Nate Parker. Nate Parker's working again. He'll never work on the level he was, but neither will Kevin Spacey.
Right.
Like it.
But they don't stop working.
It is what it is with this shit. I just think it was very weird to cherry pick because you can look at a person like Armie Hammer, who all his shit is like mostly verbal allegations and him talking creepy to people. I will eat you and shit. We go, oh, he's a cannibal. He didn't actually eat anybody, guys. I don't know if it's like some fantasy sex shit or whatever, but that's what he said, but he didn't do it. And he persona non grata in Hollywood, right? This motherfucker potentially has video of him putting his hands on some woman. I don't know what to tell y'all, dog. To me, there's not he not getting Emmett Till or Snow Bunny or whatever y'all want to call it. This to me is a case of probably would have went that way for an up and coming white actor who did some shit like this in the height of, at the peak of them starting to come up as somebody. That's my guess, but whatever. All right, the poll. Oh wait, shit! I accidentally closed the YouTube tab.
Okay, for the comments.
Yeah, give me 1 second to open that back up. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's look at the YouTube comments for Lil Brary's. We got like 4 comments. Carlton says, always a great episode with Mike. I love when y'all love Mike as much as I love Mike.
Yes, Mike is always fun.
Yeah, because I know Mike is he has a different style, And so you got the longer form comments, you got the back and forth, the jokes, there's a lot of uh a lot of him asking for permission to make you laugh and stuff. I found all that stuff to be adorable and fun, and I like to listen to his, somewhat philosophy, somewhat comedy, somewhat commentary on stuff. So I'm glad that for the people that is like, oh man, I love Mike. I love that y'all love him. And for those that don't like him or skip the episodes, I hear y'all too, but thanks for not writing in. I don't need to hear it. Tiffany says, love Rise, because we used to, and the reason I bring it up, we used to get people that would be like, man, it's like he wouldn't let y'all get a word. I'm like, that's the thing. It's fine.
Yes.
We're okay with it. So hopefully either you'll be okay with it or you'll be okay with us being okay with it.
Yes.
Tiffany says, love Rise t-shirt. I used to be cool. LOL. So funny. And Karen, it gives me so much joy to see how much you love that blanket. And good luck on the move, Mike.
I do love my blankets. I got a bunch of them. I love them. I
think she's talking about that specific blanket. Tiffany may have bought that for you, I think.
Okay. I do this, Honda. This thing feel like cotton.
My mom says, what a delightful, nuanced conversation. Mike is the new best friend in my head with all his analogies. Awesome show. An absurd spoonful says, Rod and Mike's friendship is absolutely adorable. Every time he's on, I spend most of the episode smiling. Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the poll. All right, the poll was, do you have unread books in your place of living? 88% yes, 12% no.
Yes.
Which makes me wonder if they just don't have any books.
That's true. I am a book collector, and I just like them. I don't read them all, but I like them.
And I prefer to get rid of books.
I'm not as bad as I used to be now, but yes.
I think what I do and what I think I'm gonna start doing is just sometimes I just take something to Goodwill, and Karen never notices because she's not reading them and don't care. It's just in her mind she thinks they need to be in here. But, like we get these Netflix things for movie screener season, and Netflix has decided that for all the jobs that they cut, they're gonna spend money on giving us like these boxes for movies that's on fucking Netflix. Like we're not even going to the theater to see these movies. Why are you giving me like a Netflix original movie, and then like here's the storyboard, here's some of the here's a candle,
here's a behind the scenes,
here's a sweater, here's this, and I'm like, this shit is just sitting in my house, and they'll send two, one for me, one for Karen, and I normally try to give one to Justin or something, but to me, I'm like, I open the box, if there was candy in there, I keep that, but if anything else can fucking go, because I'm not gonna use it. And Karen will be like, oh, we gonna throw that out. I'm like, you're never gonna look at this again. I've never seen you pick anything up and look at it again. It's just getting dust in the corner of our apartment. What is this? So maybe y'all like that. And
I'm that person, y'all. I know somebody else out there like me.
On Spotify, 95% of people have unread books, 5% no. And Spotify makes sense. I have more money to buy more books. Don't worry, be nomad was the Q&A. Sandy says, this is why Tia and Tamara kept telling him to go home. Guess Marquise took that role to heart. Aaron says, I'm definitely not mad about this episode. Amazing episode with Mike. So much fun. I loved every minute of it. And don't wait to check out his show in LA in June. Oh, and I can't wait. Yes, go support.
Yeah, go support.
Tell him we
Mike.
sent you.
Yes, if y'all go to one of Mike's shows, tell him you heard him on the show.
Jane says, I always love having Mike Kaplan on the show, and I can feel the pain and anger coming from Rod on the connection issue from the podcast. Connection issue.
Yeah, remember you kept going out.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
So stressful. Love Mike's thoughts on relationships being a trust without falling. Heart emoji. Love it. All right, let's go to the last episode of the week. It is 2698 grievance aggregators, and we got the most comments, I think 5 on this one.
Oh shit.
Appia says, I drive a lot for work and do so for many years, and I don't have road rage. This is something I'm pretty proud about. I just don't see the point. The other person doesn't even know I'm mad. Someone who yells in their car only yells at themselves and their passengers If I yell at someone, I want them to hear it. Yeah, I don't have road rage either, ever. Honestly, maybe something's wrong with me,
I'm
but
better.
even when
Better.
people do some foul shit, I've never like yelled at them, blew my horn, and started whatever. It's just fucking pointless.
Yeah, and Roger kind of tapped me out of that. I was fussing about something one day. I was driving, and he was like, "Baby, they can't hear you." And I don't know why. It was like all of a sudden my brain was like, "You're right,"
Yeah.
and I calmed down ever since.
Gina Gates says Forrest Whitaker's character would have been 100% correct about the baby intruder. I wonder what he's gonna do to Donald. He's just pissing on us. He's not potty trained. Ronan Raphael says beef is so good. I haven't finished it yet. I was waiting on the usual suspects plus allergies when I saw David Cho news and became confused by the boycott campaign. Then I thought about it and to myself after seeing some prison abolition folks going all for this boycott. It became fascinating to just watch the language around the movement, starting with calling out David Cho to slowly turning in calling out Ali Wong, holding her responsible for every casting decision ever made. So I came to the simple conclusion of filing under Do Something Joe Biden and returned back to watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they released a statement collectively, the creator, Ali Wong, and I always forget Glenn from The Walking Dead's real name because Stephen Young. Mm-hmm. And so they put out a statement, and I actually do have a statement. I shared it on my social media, and looking at some of the reaction to it.
You can tell a lot of times the way people be fussy, you be like, "Oh, y'all don't know how these decisions are made," and some of these decisions are made outside of, like, you're trying to hold somebody accountable for shit that they didn't really even have nothing to do with.
Well, it's not just that. To me, I'm like, this reveals your hand. Because your response to their response to me tells me what y'all was about the whole time. Like, this has never been about justice, accountability, any of that shit. It's a punishment campaign. Mm-hmm. Because this shit was said in 2014. It's not even reasonable to expect that his friends or whoever the fuck who have actually seen whatever has happened in his life since 2014, it's not even reasonable to expect them to be mad as your ass is on social media. It's not even, that's so unrealistic. And also, you motherfuckers want actual rapists out of jail. You want actual murderers out of jail. You want actual criminals we want us to ban the box on applications so that if you're a criminal, you can apply for a job and they don't have to even look up your criminal record. That's what you want. You want us to destigmatize all these crimes and shit. It is weird to socially want the death penalty for people, but think that physically that is incongruent. To think it is wrong of me to be like, yeah, some motherfuckers gotta go to jail, but like that's not virtue signally enough. But then when it comes into practice, when it's not this theory, motherfuckers really turn into the most hardcore conservative throw a motherfucker away ass people. And I
don't mean it.
It is a carceral impulse, and the fact that they don't see it that way is crazy to me. Is because this is the same impulse behind our criminal punishment system. It's the same impulse. And I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying keep it real all the time. Right. And leave me the fuck alone when I say, hey, this dude hit my grandma. I want him in jail. Leave me alone. I don't have to forgive him. I don't want to do no restorative justice. I don't want to educate him. I want them away from other people, even if it makes them a worse person, even if they don't get rehabilitated. I just don't need them around me. If that's the real impulse, that's what is really happening. Mm-hmm. But it's like that episode of a podcast I listened to. I forget the name, if it was the Ezra Klein show or the Gray Area with Sean Illen, but where they actually had a person that worked on like prison abolition, and they talked about the incongruence of social media and how hypocritical people on social media can be. And they said it's because their domain is an online domain of thoughts.
Right.
It's not about, they're policing literal thoughts. They feel attacked by online words. So it's easy for them to say, oh, real criminal shit that happened in your community. Yeah, I don't really care about that. We can solve that with hope and love and feelings and thoughts and talks. But a celebrity saying or doing something they don't like, all of a sudden they need that person to basically die.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
oh, so what's real to you is this podcast dude. But if I say an actual murderer, anyway, it is incongruent, is my point. But beyond all that, this is the comment they put out. The story David Cho fabricated 9 years ago is undeniably hurtful and extremely disturbing. We do not condone this story in any way, and we understand why this has been so upsetting and triggering. We're aware David has apologized in the past for making up this horrific story, and we've seen him put in the work to get the mental health support he needed over the next decade to better himself and learn from his mistakes. And like I said,
reasonable.
The way I saw people respond to this let me know, like, it was never about when y'all were calling them out. What y'all wanted was more. You wanted someone to join you in your campaign to like ostracize the dude. You didn't want a realistic response of we do know him more than y'all know him. We know his life isn't a 2-minute soundbite from a podcast. He's addressed it and apologized, and we actually don't think he did it. We believe him when he was going by, I'm a liar, I make stories up sometimes. Like, we believe that shit. And I think it is aided by the fact that it's been 9 years. There's not like some victims coming out or some shit. There's not another they have a lot on their side when it comes to like, yeah, we just think he fucked up. We don't think he actually did this shit. Now, do people want to hear that? No, because they've been on the internet looking at a 2-minute clip over and over again, re-examining it and realizing that he's kind of a jerk. He's like a bro comedian, you know, the bro funny type of dudes that the dudes that think dark shit isn't just funny, but like I should share the dark shit that I find funny. And isn't it funny that I'm sharing how dark and fucked up this is? He seemed to be of that ilk. And without actual people who've been harmed by him, and I don't mean I was harmed because I saw a clip on Twitter. I mean the people, someone coming forward and be like, no, this dude is a bad dude. He has assaulted people and shit. Without that, I'm not sure what you want to happen to him. He told a fucked up story that he apologized for 9 years ago. He should never work again.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
That shit don't make no sense. And what's so crazy about it is the people who wrote this letter, honestly, particularly for a lot of the social justice warriors online, they're doing the shit that y'all say. They look, they analyze, they forgave, you know, like the shit that y'all quote unquote claim that y'all want.
Yeah, I mean, it's, to me, I think you have to prove your case.
Right.
Like, this motherfucker made a terrible, abusive ass joke. This is his comedy lane, quote unquote. What it sounds like to me is people that don't like that, which obviously he has people that do like it because he wouldn't be popular. But people that don't like that are like, how the fuck is he working with people I do like? So it was really about getting the people you do like to like join you in castigating him. And I'm just like, life don't work that way. And you're clearly talking from like a complete fan side of the industry, because on the other side, it's like, motherfucker, you can't control everybody you work with on a project. You also, and this is going to happen for a lot of you in real life, you also know people sometimes better than their worst mistake or the most fucked up thing they did. And you can make a personal decision like, yeah, I don't feel uncomfortable working with him. I have talked to him about this. I've heard him talk about it. He has said this is the worst fucking thing he ever said and did, and he regrets it or whatever. I can see how people would feel that way, you know, that know him. So to me, it don't sound so crazy, but what it does feel like is ultimately people wanted allyship in this campaign to destroy this man. And because Ali Wong, the creator, and Stephen Yeun said, nah, now they got to be the bad guys. And that's what it always is going to be about. Because everybody has to be the enemy at some point.
Right. And the thing is, the people who do this, like you said, A, it's from a fan perspective, and B, you don't care anything about them fucking up their careers. You don't care anything about them fucking up their own money because all your shit is a thought exercise.
Mhm.
So you don't have to live with the consequences, the repercussions about this when you yourself. A lot of
My
people
thing is,
wouldn't fuck up their own careers.
You know what it is though, Steven Yeun and Ali Wong wouldn't fuck up their careers if they threw this dude to bushes. They wouldn't. They'd be fine. Like, what it is people thinking they're holding these folks' careers hostage. Like, I won't support you if you don't throw this dude in the trash. I want to control you. Oh, and I thought of this shit this morning. I'm glad we kept talking about this. Go ahead. I thought of this shit this morning. I know a similar situation where everybody's on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know which one I'm talking. Okay, but I know a similar situation I was thinking about because I'm on the other side too. Cardi B, when she said she was fucking drugging men and robbing them, which is a actual fucking crime. None of these men have come forward, so she could have been on live making it up. She could have just been talking that shit. None of us started hating her. Let's boycott her, except people that already wanted her out the paint. People that didn't fuck with Cardi B to this day will bring up that shit like this vile piece of shit. She robbed these people. And honestly, it is fucked up if she did it. If she did it, that is a fucked up thing to do. Ain't nobody came forward, whether it's a shame thing or whether it's she made it up thing. Ain't nobody ever came forward. So to me, ain't no real people to be on their behalf of. Honestly, like whether she said it for clout and because it was funny to her, it still was fucked up. And you can throw all the gender dynamics and all the fucking, patriarchal context on top of it. It's still fucked up because if you're saying sex work is work, if you're saying that there's no shame in it, that means you're going to have customers. And if and just because it's illegal doesn't make those people bad people. There's a lot of us want to have sex with Cardi B. So if she was out here being like, yes, you can have sex with me, it's going to be this much money. Or yes, I will strip for you, it's going to be this much money. It's a lot of motherfuckers that aren't bad people that are like, absolutely, where do I give the money to? Mm-hmm. So for her to be fucking drugging those people and stealing their money is ethically fucked up and criminally fucked up and all that shit. We do not have that same energy for her because we're like, yeah, I mean, if that even happened, it's a long time ago. And seems to be there's no people out here that are crime foul, so fuck it. That's exactly how we treated it. So I think when you flip the gender, when you flip the like who we like, who we don't, who we've been introduced to, we've been a fan of longer, all of a sudden it gets super fucking complicated now, right? All of a sudden it's, well, that's Cardi, if that even happened. Well, if this even happened, right? Well, those men wanted to have sex with her, so what? They're bad people, nigga. You want to have sex with her? Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's literally what sex work is. So it's just interesting to see like how when we decide to that we're never letting a motherfucker work again, and when we don't. Because I look at everybody that says the people that still mad about that shit with Cardi, I look at them like they crazy. When they're still bringing it up, I'm like, wasn't that 7-8 years ago she talked about that? Or didn't that happen even before? Like, what are you mad about exactly? Is she never supposed to rap again? Well, she's Cardi B, guys. She's gonna be around. Yes, she is. Now, this nigga ain't no Cardi B. He not that famous, but it just feels like a very, like I said, it feels like a stance that's not congruent 100%. And I literally remember people being on the other side of this shit. Just it's not, those are very similar situations of her telling a story. No actual victim coming forward and us being like, yeah, it was kind of fucked up, but I understand. Or I forgive her. Or she just shouldn't have said that story. It didn't even happen. Now, I don't even know that she's ever like apologized or addressed it or said, I actually didn't do that shit.
I don't know.
So in some ways, it could be considered worse because at least this motherfucker's like, I did not do that shit. I thought it was funny to tell a story like I did that shit, and that was obviously stupid. So anyway, back to the comments though. Now the more important things. I've seen it with my two naked eyes before. Tyler's be communicating across realms. If we don't act now, not even combining the Avengers with the Rock Justice League will save us. Joe Biden and all the world leaders need to take these Tylers seriously. They coming for all of us, and it's gonna be worse than beef. There's nowhere to hide. It all started with the shortages of their formulas. We are doomed. That's true. That's a good point. Rona Raphael bringing the facts. Stella says, thanks for talking about the beef controversy. I was the person that responded to your tweet and said that it would be hard for me to watch it after hearing the podcast clip on my Twitter timeline. I never heard of this guy, David Cho, before beef, but listening to his rape joke on his podcast turned my stomach. I still want to watch it because I love Stephen Yeun. It will just be a little later. I kind of hate that my enjoyment got dampened before I even watched it. I think that was the whole point of this campaign.
Yes.
I think and this has worked on me, by the way, all the time. I tell y'all all the time when y'all are, because I think what I can't reconcile is the fervor of people who watch the shit but actively talk shit about the thing. Those two things don't line up to me. Whereas I'm like, but you just said it was terrible, and then I remember a long time ago there was a person that was like, I'm not watching Westworld because it does some stuff with the Native American archetypes and stereotypes and stuff, and it's very offensive, and this was off the trailer. The whole fucking thing hadn't even dropped yet. And of course, Westworld season 1 goes on to become a phenomenon. Everyone's watching it, blah, blah, blah. Now, this person that told me this shit about the Native American characters, indigenous people, and I was like, oh, okay. So then 6-7 weeks into it, this motherfucker's giving me a blow by blow on the plot. I said, why are you talking to me about this show? I didn't watch it. And you not watching Westworld? I said, you told me, right? You said, I didn't say this. You fucking told me it was a piece of shit, racist bullshit. Oh no, man, you gotta watch it, man. It's deeper than what I was saying. I was like, right, because you just be saying anything.
Correct.
Motherfuckers really just be saying, I don't even know what to believe your morals and your point of view actually is, because I don't think you do. It's like a fucking goldfish with a small memory from this second to the next. You can't even keep up with what the fuck you be saying, because in the moment you'll just say shit. And I try to be y'all know I try my damnedest to not be like that.
Yeah. I do too. And the thing is, and I know that being a human being, sometimes things are just fickle and you could fall on either side. But for me, there has been things where I'm very adamant about certain things. Sometimes too adamant, where Roger have to tell me, hey baby, calm down. When the shit happened with Papa John's, I was like, well, fuck it, I'm not eating no Papa John's no more. And I said it and I meant that shit. And and I was Roger order Papa. I'm like, no, I want no Papa John's. I said, I am one of them people when they say keep that energy. I on certain things, I will keep that same energy. And I was like, I'm not wavering, I'm not moving, I'm not bending. I said what I said. So I try to be very consistent, with these type of things when it comes, to these things. And for me, because I don't have that fear of missing out, either for me, I watch it or I don't. And like you said, it's kind of to an extent has worked on me too. When it comes to people and their opinions and them being all over the place about shows.
What I mean when I say it works on me, I mean there's times where I want to watch something and I get excited about it, but it becomes the controversy of the day. And I'm not attracted to the controversy, and I'm not attracted to the online discussion, because the online discussion becomes about how people aren't watching it, which is totally different to me. And it becomes a place for us to group together and be like, we're not watching it because we're all good people. And yet what I feel like subconsciously is truly happening is that people don't have the time. There's too much stuff out. And so what we do make the time for is being online, because that's more about us and our own brands. And so now I can be online, promote my own brand, and my brand is I'm the person that didn't watch this because I'm a better person than you, or I heard this was bad, so it's saving me time of actually watching and finding out for myself, but I still get to join the conversation as if I do understand. And a lot of times I'll either go watch that stuff because I want to know for myself, and I'll just won't talk about it. I won't tweet about it or anything, or I'll wait till it's died down, and if I remember, I'll come back to it and be like, oh, this was actually pretty good. And then I don't have the bad taste of everybody denigrating the shit. I can actually enjoy it, because I am not, and I've openly been like this and for years, I'm not a boycott a person because they art because a person that is fucked up that made it person. I'm just not, and there's nothing. I don't give a fuck if you judge me. I'm never feeling like I'm supporting the people. I'm pretty fucking open about my point of view about things. Normally when I don't watch something, it's just because I'm either not entertained by that, or I'm not attracted to it, or I'm just never was a fan. It's never like a conscientious point of like, oh, so-and-so made this, I don't like them. It's never that. If I think it's good, I'm willing to give them credit for, okay, you made a good thing, bad person. End of the discussion for me.
Right.
You'll never trick me into believing that consumption is all there is to me as a human being, because I feel like that's the most hyper-capitalist point of view of humanity ever, is your dollar is your point of view on everything. Well, nigga, you're the real capitalist. You're the hyper-capitalist if you believe that shit. Like, to me, I'm like, yeah, someone could play the Harry Potter video game and not be with J.K. Rowling's transphobic bullshit.
Agreed.
I haven't played the game. I'm not even interested in playing the game. I'm not saying that out of any level of self-interest. I just truly believe that's how life works. Like, there's only a handful of people that truly have monetized their hate in a way that is almost unavoidable to be like, damn, if you listen to this R. Kelly song, is no way he wasn't singing about what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I don't really have the hang up of that type in the first place. But online is all about signaling that, right? Because that's how we signal that we're good people. So it's just an uninteresting place to have a conversation for me, because I'm going to have a conversation about season 3 and 4 of Atlanta that's not about if you like Donald Glover or not. I don't give a fuck about that part.
Right.
Donald Glover didn't write all those episodes. Like, I want to talk about the art. So I just mostly avoid online discussions. That's why me and Bossy do the podcast and stuff. It's just easier than trying to have a conversation with people that are obsessed with their own love and hatred of celebrity. That's all that. They're just versions of stands to me. That is just weird. Is very weird. And if you didn't put these niggas on a pedestal for literally doing nothing, sometimes if you didn't put them on a pedestal, you wouldn't feel the emotional attachment to whether you need to bring them down or lift them up, or what does it say about you to consume their art. If you don't make that your personality, you'll be fine.
You will be. And I think 2 examples. One is Blackish. I remember when Blackish first came out, even before it came out, I was one of the people that had a problem with the name. But I am reasonable enough, when me and Roger talked about it, I'm reasonable enough to realize that was ludicrous. You know, but a lot of people did that and they just never got over that, if quote unquote, that makes sense. They never analyzed or thought about it enough, you know, to actually be like, well, why do I feel like this? What is wrong with the name? What does me having a problem with this say about me? And there's those internal dialogues that I will have with myself sometimes, because sometimes some of these thoughts that people have, other people have them too, but they just go beyond step 1. And they might go up 2 or 3 and realize, oh, okay, this is stupid, or oh, okay, this is what's triggering me, or whatever that causes me to feel like this, or whatever, and then they'll calm down.
Here's the last thing too, though. Also, and I think this is what I'm very wary of at this point, having seen it in action up close. A lot of y'all are useful idiots. By what I mean is, there's somebody with a personal gripe somewhere playing you. Like, they are playing your anger. They are purposefully taking things, putting them in a context. They are shit. This is the title. They are aggregating your grievance, and you're letting them do it. Like, how have we not? We've been on the internet long enough. We should stop and think, take a breath for a second, and be like, what is the fucking point of this? For real though. Like, what is supposed to happen? Like, we're supposed to just to turn the reputation of this show, where this dude is like the seventh lead, quote unquote, the 7th supporting actor. We're supposed to be like, man, fuck the people who made this show, because they didn't know or didn't care about something he said in 2014 on a podcast that I just discovered and only saw 2 minutes of, that has been deleted and apologized for. You're never going to stop and think about that for yourself and be like, why do I need to destroy this? Who needs me to do this, and why? Is it as simple as they just need the clicks and the likes and the retweets? Is it a grievance they've had with this person? Is it personal? But you're being used is my point, or just at least be open to the possibility you're being used. The biggest issue with social media is that none of us think the things that we think are happening to other people can happen to us. And I've been on the side of, oh shit, I woke up to I'm being used. I wouldn't even get down like this. Why am I getting down like this? Oh, because I want to be in the group of the people around me, and I want to be popular online, or I want to be liked by these people, or whatever. And so now I'm not even questioning the framing of shit, which is my natural inclination, meaning I'm not being myself right now. Like, I'm not saying I'm a contrarian, but I definitely be like, I'll take a second to think, if you don't mind. You know, I'm not Mr. Impulsive, jump on somebody, jump on some shit. I like to think about it, work myself up to the anger. You know what I mean?
Right. I like my anger to be valid. And one more thing, it was kind of a running joke, but I know with Insecure, when Insecure first came out, honestly, the biggest reason why I didn't watch Insecure, probably like the first season, I was like, oh, y'all niggas just angry and complain. Like, honestly, and it literally just turned me. I was like, the fuck I'm going to be joining in watching some shit to see the war of the sexes every fucking week. Like, honestly, if Roderick literally hadn't have set me down one day, I was doing some shit, he put it on, I watched it, I would have never watched the show. Because I was like, y'all niggas just jump on here every time and fuss about the shit for a full fucking week. Nah, I'm good, nigga.
Because they like to argue. And then whatever's happening of the day just becomes fodder for the anger.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you're correct. There's no part of entertainment that hadn't been touched by someone that may have done something vile or criminal at some point. There are bad people that have made great music, movies, and other art in their lifetime and have enjoyed it. Yeah, don't even get me started on that shit. Like, same motherfuckers is about to watch this documentary on Tupac, who supposedly actually did hold a woman down when she was sexually assaulted. And they do not keep that same energy for that dude, period.
Mm-mm.
And they never will. And it's just it was our time, and so he gets a pass forever.
Right.
You know, and it just is what it is. You can love Tupac and see him as a whole flawed human being in a way that you'll never allow for some nigga you just heard of, which is fucking insane to me.
Right. That's why I don't.
You know less about this person than you know about Tupac, and you're already on some like that's all that is to them 2 minutes. It's a constant, and you don't even see how you're being used. Like, you don't see that. For real?
They don't challenge themselves.
Like, you didn't. I don't know, man. You got to question this shit. You got to question all this shit. I'll admit that sometimes I can get, I guess, roped in, especially when it comes to cruelty or violence against women and children. This is why I love your podcast. You and Karen bring a different perspective. Yeah, it's just, like I said, man, this is one of the ones where, like, it, to me, is so blatantly, nakedly obvious. It's a manipulation of, it's my personal belief is that there's narcissists online who want to see how many people they can manipulate with their framing of things. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people you call activists, a lot of people in all the ism spaces, you know, I think a lot of people are like that. And we see it when we don't like what the person's talking about. We can see it so clearly. Like, if I brought up Dr. Umar or somebody, y'all be like, yeah, of course. If I say Tariq Nasheed, that's what he do. But if I'm like, you know, ex-feminist or something that this, you know, this insert feminist here, insert media person here that's always got like anger going, insert social media person that only shares articles that make people mad and video clips. If it's that person, you won't see it anymore. If it's left said this, you won't see it anymore. Because you're like, oh, no, I agree with this person. I'm like, well, this person only puts out things that make you upset.
Right.
All day. What are they getting from that? You see what I'm saying? Like,
and what are you getting from that?
Right. Like, why haven't you thought about that? Is it making your life better? What is it distracting you from? What are you running from in your life that you need to be on, you know, the not Captain America's feed all day, seeing how the next upsetting thing that he found for you to be mad about? What does it say about you? And why don't you want to have that conversation? I have that conversation with you. That's a real one. I talked to you about that shit before I talked to you about David Cho, because I'm like, now we talking about some real shit.
Right.
Like, now we can get in the mud. I've been there too. You know?
Right. We all have.
But I don't. But like there'll be a David Cho next week too, and you'll never ask why. You know what I mean? The new David Cho will be Ali Wong and Steve Young for a while, and you'll never ask why. Anyway, but you know, everybody gets there on their own time, and some people never get there. And maybe years from now, I'll be looking back at this and be like, oh no, I should be mad every day about a new person, and maybe I'll be wrong. I'm open to that too, but personally, I don't feel that way right now, and I used to feel the other way, and I don't think I'm ever going back.
Me either. And like Roger said, we're basically telling you because I used to be like this. And a lot of times, and we kind of talked about this before, you need to look around you and be like, what kind of company am I keeping? Well, are these people encouraging this bad behavior? And those are questions, like you say, they never ask themselves. Am I getting a high? Is this addictive? Like you say, what am I running for? What is this distracting me from? And because now, jokes aside, people like to be willful idiots. That critical thinking area of the brain never kicks in, because if it does, it will require them to think. And for some people, they go online, that's just strict followers. Like their whole thing, I'm a follower, I'm a flying monkey. This is what I do. This is my jam.
Well, it gives you company. Because that's the thing. At least over there, you're not alone.
Right.
Because a lot of times for those of us that have decided like, yeah, I'm going to watch this thing, I am not going to even get into this part about the controversy because I think y'all are kind of tripping about that. You find yourself being kind of alone with it. Like you can't really talk about it because, and I'm not saying this Stella, the person who wrote in, she didn't mean anything bad about it, but
right.
All I said was I love the show. And the first thing was, and she hadn't even watched it. And her first thing was, what about this controversy? That's why I won't be watching it. And I'm like, right, this is why it's alone. I'm alone on my side.
Right.
What she was inviting me to, without knowing it, was inviting me to this other conversation where I wouldn't have been alone. If I would have said, we did what? Well, I fuck this show and fuck Ali Wong. Now I'm all kinds of people would have been my mentions like, hey, yeah, Rod, exactly. But I don't want that kind of company. It's a negative, depressing ass company. Like I enjoy the thing, and I don't assume everybody that made it is necessarily a good person. And of all the controversies, this is one of the least controversial controversies because you don't even have like a person that came out and said this happened to him, and a nigga and he apologized and said he lied about it. So whether he did or not, those are the facts that we have to deal with. Yeah, I don't need to create a new reality. I'll wait for somebody to come forward before I go, oh yeah, that dude's a piece of shit. Even though he probably is a piece of shit, even for thinking that shit was funny. Like, he old enough to know that shit not funny.
Both can be true.
Yeah, he old enough to know that shit not funny. And I'm not a cringe humor dude, so in that type of way. So, it was never gonna be for me. But in this show, he's an actor playing a character. It's not him doing a podcast. So to me, it's not related. Anyway, EV says, I saw Beat before I heard about the controversy and I loved it. So indicative of the world we live in today. People escalating things that they could have just walked away from to the point of no return. That being said, I get why people are angry at David Cho. The joke was tacky and tasteless. He really needs to offer an apology for not only that joke, but how he's been handling the situation by shutting down any discourse about it. What I don't understand is why people seem to be equally angry at Ali Young and Stephen Young. See, to me, that's the bridge that people aren't connecting. What would it look like? Because he did apologize for that joke. But what would it look like for him? What does it look like for him shutting down discourse about it? What does that mean? Because if I fucked up, I actually am not eternally talking about this shit for the rest of my life. I'm going to tell y'all that right now.
Most people are not.
If I offer a full-throated apology, it is not now become apology upon demand.
Yes.
And it feels like people think that's realistic, but they've never seen it because it's not realistic. There's no human being that just shows up every place as they're moving on with their life. And you yourself have made mistakes, not this mistake, but some mistake somewhere. You are not confronted by that mistake every single fucking day and have to apologize every time your name comes up, every time a new person introduced to you. That is so unrealistic and it's so fucking carceral. It's not real. It's not true. The way our lives and time operates as we move on to new things, we're like, I said how I felt about that. I'm now working on something not even related to that shit. So what I'm saying is the person that wants to keep him stuck there,
Right.
who keeps bringing it up, why are we not questioning where that's coming from?
Agreed. And then they wonder why the person gets to the point where they go, fuck y'all and fuck this. I've apologized. I'm not apologizing no more.
They want that.
What do you mean you not apologizing no more? I said what I said.
And
bitch.
he hasn't said that, but that's what they want.
Right.
Because essentially he's played it what I imagine to be correctly, which is I said my apology. I'm never going to go back on my apology. And I'm also never going to bring this shit up again. I was clearly wrong. That's the end.
The end.
That's the fucking end of it. You can't keep apologizing forever. You know, this was the reason that I understood the people that were with Kevin Hart for being like, if he apologized for those jokes, why would he do it again? And again, and again. And when does it stop? Like, they did have a point there. Even if I thought, you know, it was Kevin Hart did what Karen said of the, and I'm over it, I'm never apologizing. It's
right,
like,
because you press people to that
right.
point, and that's the whole point. It's like after a while, people gonna be like, hey,
yeah,
you get no more apologies out of me.
And that, I think low key, that's what people want. They want to push you to that point of fucking up again in a different way, to be like, I told you it's a piece of shit. And this dude basically went radio silent, which to me is the smartest thing a PR person can say, and the smartest thing a person can do.
Right.
It's hard, but because you want people to think you're a good person, you want people to think you changed.
Right.
But honestly, what statement would you have accepted? You won't accept Ali Wong and Stephen Young's statement. You won't accept anything this motherfucker says. I guarantee it, because you don't believe him, period. So why are we pretending? What's up with this facade? The only thing you'll accept is him going, I'm going to kill myself today. I'm a bad person. I did everything y'all said I did. And it wasn't a joke. And I really did mean it. And I did do those things. And that's the only thing you'll accept. So if you know that's the only thing you'll accept, why are you even pretending like there's some magical words? And the reason they moved on to Ali Wong and Stephen Young is because the first thing is kind of some bullshit too. Mm-hmm. So it's about staying mad. Yes. So to me, you're saying like, I see why people are mad at him. I'm like, do you though? Because it did happen in 2014. So why are they really mad? They're mad because someone told them to be mad. Guess why they're gonna be mad at Ali and Steven? Because someone's telling them to be mad at them too. That's as simple as it is, not complex. No. It's a reason they didn't really do shit, but now they're caught up in it. The fact they even had to release a statement is crazy to me, because half of you motherfuckers work with somebody that if someone came and told you like so-and-so is a piece of shit, you wouldn't be like, well, I guess I need to release a statement. Like, you'd be like, well, I work in accounting. I'm not sure what that person got to do with me, but that ain't my department. My job is not I don't need to get on Twitter and tell y'all how much I don't like or like that person. It really is. The fact that you demanded a statement, got mad, it took them a week, which is completely fucking reasonable, especially when you're talking about something that's not illegal or criminal and there's no evidence of.
Right.
You basically want them to say he's a rapist and he's off the show, as opposed to he made a joke, apologize, and we know him more than y'all. And honestly, we think he's done a lot of work to from those moments to not be like that.
Yeah, and something you brought up is, like you say, the best thing to do is go radio silence.
They honestly shouldn't have put out a statement, to be honest.
I wouldn't.
I mean, they did, and I get why they did, because they want to be good people and it's sinking their project, this Asian American, this AAPI project. Mm-hmm. Everybody claimed they want it, but now it's arbitrarily sinking like they do everything they claim they want. But I get why they put out a statement. I'm sure they thought it was smart. I could have told them any statement you put out won't work. There's no statement you can put out other than, I hate this guy now. I didn't know this. Fuck y'all. You know, on my Facebook page, somebody was like, you know, is interesting. They're going with the angle of, we heard about this and we believe him. And I said, you know what's crazy? Even if they didn't, if I'm their PR person, I don't have them put out a statement, I just found out. Because everyone who just found out is supposed to react irrationally and upset emotionally and lash out at the dude, as opposed to, we've been known about this, we think it was fucked up, but we also think he has a right as an artist and as a human to change and become better and not do that shit no more. Like, this is the real truth here. This is the ugly truth of humanity. but it's not. It don't make you look great. You didn't get to dunk
No.
on them and get all the credit. You know.
Yeah, and that's why it's like I said, they continually move the goalpost.
Right.
And it's one of those things where it boils down to something I said, and I will always say this: people feel like once you become a status symbol, whatever the status symbol that because it's arbitrary, what the individual person is determined, they can strip just pure humanity from you. They can just strip it away from you, and they can assume that everything you do is the worst. Nothing you do is out of kindness of your heart. Nothing you do is you just being a human being. Everything you do has to be pushed to the extremes, which justify these irrational and illogical behavior. It's like, because anybody in their right mind will go, hey, this is crazy, y'all. But because they've created this online world where everything has to be amped, they have to justify their actions by things like this.
Yeah, and someone brought up James Gunn with them tweets. Mm-hmm. And you know what Disney did? They basically went back and was like, wait, it was just fucked up jokes. The people who are using this to target him have a personal gripe because they don't like that he's a liberal, a progressive white dude, and yet he made some cringe ass jokes. But that is the extent of his thing. He also had fucking confronted the jokes, admitted that they were bad, said he was sorry for them, and the only thing is he didn't take them down, and he didn't take them down out of posterity because he was like, people need to see that I changed. And you know what we did? The opposite. No, we going back to 2009. You're stuck here forever. You should not, even though you've shown through your work that you do not do this anymore, we are going to try to cancel you now. And it is weird. It is a fucked up impulse. And like I said, that's the reason it moves on to the next person. And Disney basically went, man, we was wrong. You got your job back. Our bad. And honestly, everyone got the fuck over it. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't real what you were mad about. It doesn't come up. It didn't come up again until I just said it right now because I saw it in the chat. Anyway, she says, why they mad at Allie and Steven? They didn't make that horrible joke. That guy's their friend, and I think they gave him grace by not saying anything at all. I've seen plenty of people defend the indefensible on behalf of their friends and get dragged for it. I didn't see them defending that behavior, and when they finally made a statement, it wasn't good enough for people. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's my whole fucking point in a nutshell. Right there.
Yeah, it's just that simple. You're damned if you do.
And that's the point. If you don't. By the way, that's the point.
Right.
Of them doing that.
So that they're always right.
Yeah, because somebody gonna get damned, because somebody need to get damned for me to have this content. That's my personal belief.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, comments on YouTube. My mom says Trayvon, Megan Thee Stallion, #1 fan. That Azaro was calling him. Start a GoFundMe and free Trayvon. I don't know about freeing him, but I definitely understand his motivation to want to be at the concert. He also said, put the zip ties on the baby's wrist, LOL. Karen said that. My mom says, y'all took me out on the baby insurrectionist. And then lastly, then S. Carter says, my son and I were in DC and said that the bars are big enough for a small person to fit through. I told him it actually happened. He said, I told you. A baby, but still a person. And Harmon said, or as Republicans call, even the egg is a person. Okay. In Harmon, they're like, it's murder every time you have a period. Honestly, you're killing babies. Ian Harmon says, I enjoyed this episode. Thank you again. You guys have me looking for the episodes. I want to hear the Star Wars Mandalorian recap. Well, we aren't doing the Star Wars Mandalorian recap, even though we watch it. And yeah, recaps are work for me. So
we pick and choose. Like, we don't do everything. Like, if we kind of pick and choose those types of shows.
Yeah, y'all are turning the same way you get to be entertained by it, and that's the fun for you. Whenever y'all say y'all want to recap, you're turning my fun into work. So I think just in general, we don't do a TV recap show in general. We just kind of do a couple a year for the things we find to be fun. You know? The poll, should the White House build a toilet-proof fence? 35% say yes, 65% say no.
Yes.
On Spotify, 54% say yes, 46% say no.
Yeah, they got the money. They got something to protect.
Yeah, they know that the instability at the White House would affect their stocks.
Come on.
They can't have these babies out here attacking. Keep your toddlers out the White House was the comment. Kimmy says she just wanted a snack and a nap. Much like the president. Ernest says, Rod and Karen. Rod and Karen are making light of the baby insurrectionist problem. Meanwhile, Google JR15 and see how deep the rabbit hole really goes. This message brought to you by the 1 million Tip in America's pack. Jed Damo says, I love beef. I'm on episode 7. I love the commentary on anger, but even on how trying to positive and not face any negative emotions can also be hurtful through George. Yeah, me and Bossy have been talking about beef and Snowfall and stuff. We may do a This Too Much at some point. I don't know if it'll be both shows or not. Maybe we'll do a general like what we've been watching kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I told her, because I watched beef like straight through, and I loved it so much. Like, it is honestly possibly my favorite piece of art this year so far. You know, I know it's April, but it's just like the way it's like honestly like a treatise on anger. And to me, I think and the destructiveness of it and the deflection of it, like, what does it mean what are you running from when you're running towards something with anger? What is it that you're actually running from? It's fight or flight. But what people don't realize, it's not really fight or flight, it's flight and fight in a lot of cases. And so I really think this was one of the best illustrations of it, and it gives you something to think about, and how a lot of anger really stems from loneliness and being alone. And that's why a lot of times when you hear about people that used to be angry online a lot, including myself, and when you hear them change or become calmer or more reasoned and rational or more thoughtful or just introspective or more patient, what you almost always hear go along with that is how much they move their process of friendship and group dynamics offline. Almost every single time. Oh, I just talked to my person on the phone. I'll text them, or a group chat, or I do it on my podcast. Almost every way they move away from the group dynamics of large online spaces into either smaller online spaces or offline spaces. Almost every fucking time. It's a person that knew me in real life kind of brought something to my attention. I realized I was out of pocket and I was angry all the time, and it wasn't really rational and it wasn't really me. And I think, beef is a great illustration of the things and the problems you're running away from when you're running to something. I loved every time they would try to explain the main two characters, Ali and Steve, when they would try to explain to someone that wasn't involved in the beef, felt like how I used to feel trying to explain some shit that happened on Twitter to somebody that don't be online.
Yes, me too. And
they be looking like, why are you so mad about this?
Who is this? Why they important?
What happened?
They would be so confused.
Because you know what they wanted to talk about? How my life was. What was, because they're asking how my life was, and my life was Twitter. My life was a message board. My life it wasn't like, oh, this is what's happening in my job. This is what's happening in my health. This is what's happening with my relationships. This is what's happening. It was becoming this other thing that was a distraction from other stuff. So yeah, I think, there's so much I could say about the show. I loved it. Kadian says Karen was right about people lacking emotional intelligence. Literally a type of intelligence one can measure. Has nothing to do with range of emotions felt. It's about examining and understanding their use.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with emotions. And it's as somebody who, the older I got, the more I began to control my emotions, because the way I was raised up, and I love my family, but my family emotions were all over the place. They let their emotions dictate a lot of shit, and a lot of the reasonable, rational side for a lot of my family members, even some of them to today, just never kicked in. And so I would do shit and people would be like, well, there's something wrong with you. You're crazy. Nah, nobody was there to show me how to balance my emotions. Everything, the highs can't always be 10 and the lows can't always be 10. There has to be a middle ground. And as I went through life, I had to learn how to balance that. And I jokes out online, I can tell some of them don't have this emotional balance because everything is 10 one way or everything is 10 the opposite way. And anything that's in the middle is considered irrational and illogical. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, y'all don't have this emotional balance. There's no one here telling you this shit is ridiculous. This shit deserves a 2. It don't deserve a 10. Or this shit, you actually, if I analyze your real life, you actually don't give a fuck about this person, place, or thing, but somebody has told you to be mad and boycott or whatever it may be. So you lash on to those things.
Yeah, I think asking why is just, it's just a thing that puts you on the outside, but it's the thing that you need. I think it's the first step out of a lot of this shit is just why. Because it's not that people are always wrong either. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, I get, it's not that I never understand people's emotions. I just ask why. Because some of this shit, I'm like, if you ask why, you'll start to see the patterns, and you start to see the patterns, you'll be like, is this actually healthy for me? Is this actually what I want to do? Is this what I want to be all the time? Is this productive? I think those are fine questions, and a lot of people, I feel like that's the taboo. You start asking those questions, it's like, get this nigga out of the hive.
Yeah,
you know?
and they feel like it's a personal attack.
Right.
And when it's not, you're just trying to get to the root of the problem. But when you have somebody that's not trying to solve the problem or don't think they have a problem, but then there's no point to this conversation. Because this is not a two-sided conversation. Because I remember I would have like emotional instability when we was in college. My financial aid was fucked up, and so Roger would tell me, he was like, Karen, I need for you to go and make sure your shit is straight, because if it was their fault, but he was like, if you don't get this shit straight, nobody's gonna give a fuck about whose fault it is. They just gonna be like, get your ass out of camp, off of school. So every time I would go, I would come back and Roger asked me about it, and I was literally be in tears because, like I said, it was that emotional roller coaster of me and my anxiety, and because of how I was raised. My mama, she didn't really press a lot of things. So I didn't really know how to press and how to demand answers and how to, which was the real problem. But instead of me facing those problems, when Roger talked to me, I would bust out in tears. And a lot of people use that emotion, that sadness, those tears as a deflection to not solve whatever the problem is and get to the root cause of the problem. And you have to have, and I'll speak for me personally, you have to have somebody, and like I say, fuck all them tears. Here's the napkin, dry your tears up. Let's actually talk about this when you're in this non-emotional state. Who, what, when, why, where, and how. And him consistently doing that made me analyze and made me realize that my sadness was not solving the problem. These tears was not fixing the problem. Like it was not going to cause it to not exist anymore, and it was not going to cause the consequences, the repercussions of me being inactive not happen because I was quote unquote sad. Like, who gives a fuck about you being sad? Did you do the work or not? Is your financial aid straight or not? Like that was the problem. That was the thing that mattered.
Just, you would have been sad and out of school.
Yes.
And so giving in to that at that moment might have even felt good. It might have even felt like emotionally like some sort of like either progress or affirmation, but it's like, and it's obviously like, okay, be sad. You have a time to be sad. That's fine. And then you still have to get the thing done.
Right.
And then you have to go do it. And I think a lot of times though, that's the internet has turned into, we're validating the sadness more than we're talking about the thing that needs to be done.
Right.
I think that's a great point you're making.
And that's the action, because the thing is, and like I said, I'm coming from, when I say these things, I'm coming from somebody, I'm not perfect, but I have done the work. So this is how I can tell these people and this, where they're at, because I've been there
right.
at some period of time in my life. Because you know what it took? It took somebody who had my best interest at heart, who wasn't taking that emotion and hyping that emotion up and justifying that emotion.
But also, you know what else was happening? I'm not getting off on your emotion.
Correct.
I'm not purposely trying to put you in a state where it makes me feel needed, or it makes me feel like we're in community by stoking those emotions. It's like, this is a long winding episode, but it's like a lot of communities on social media are now communities based on emotions. It's communities of fear, communities of anger, communities of
anxiety,
stuff like that. And so much of that drives community for people that they stop asking, is that a good thing to build a community on? Because when it becomes an essential part of the community, it means you can't really leave. What, like, if you get over your anxiety, you can't be here anymore.
Right.
We're the anxious community. It reminds me of when I would get added to these blurred communities, and I told them stop adding me and start taking myself out.
Right.
Because it was really about Black people's racial anxiety more than it was about enjoying anything.
Correct.
If they like something, it would be, well, how are they gonna fuck this up? If they didn't like something, of course it's terrible, because everybody's racist and Black people are it's the worst for us. If it was a Black person that got some good news, it was the wrong kind of Black person, or how it, once again, how it's known to not work or whatever. And I just realized, like, oh, this is actually a space for racial anxiety. It's not really a space for nerding out. No. The nerding here is, we're sad. And I knew, because anytime presented, me, anytime presented, like, oh man, I'm really excited, I just saw this fan-made Static Shock trailer, and that would be dope if they can. Well, it's never gonna get made because, all right, okay, that kind of thing.
It's time to leave. Right. And the thing is, the most important thing, to go back to what I was the example for college, you allowed me to feel the emotion, which I think is the biggest piece. And the reason why I say that is because the emotion itself is not the problem.
Right.
For a lot of people, the emotion itself is the problem,
right,
or the emotion itself is the vehicle to justify your actions. And the thing is, you was like, okay, you are allowed to feel this, but once this feeling leaves, you are still here and nothing has changed. And this is where I was talking about, I'm coming from someone who put in the work, because what would happen was, and it took a while, and shout out to Roger for patience, because what he would do, he would ask me questions and I couldn't answer them. And he would literally be like, well, go back up there until you get an answer. And I would go and I would come back and I would have a little bit more information, but I still wouldn't have enough. And each time I would cry, but the tears got less and less. So I knew that I was building up the courage until it got to the point where one day he sent me back up there, because I got tired of going back. I was like, you know what, Karen? Don't leave this fucker until you can explain to Roderick exactly, because what was happening. They go there, they use these big words, they use these big terms. I didn't know what was happening and I couldn't explain. And that's why, to me, I'm the person in meetings, even at work, where they be like, but I was like, what does that mean? And everybody was like, well, thank God. I was like, yes, because y'all using your own language and nobody in here knows what the fuck you talking about. Everybody nodding. And then next week, when the expectations is that everybody knew what the fuck they was talking about, you're held accountable for some shit that you didn't really know because you wanted the meeting to move on. And so that's what that kind of taught me, where if I can explain it, and they were like, well, this, I was like, what does that mean? Break it down a little bit more. So I got to the point where I forced them to force feed me, so that when you asked me a question, I had the answers. Like I was so proud of myself. I know that might not sound like a big thing, but I was so proud of myself that I went in there and I demanded, and I did not leave until I got the answers that I wanted. And that was kind of opposite of how I was raised.
Yeah, I think, at some point, asking the deeper question to a lot of people became like a bad thing.
Right.
And, as you just said, me asking the deeper question help you process, get to the bottom of something, move on, find motivation. And to me, and maybe it's just a Gen X thing, I'm gonna always feel that way.
Right.
Like, it's not the emotion. The emotion's not even the bad guy. It's just processing and pushing through it is part of the process. It's not the landing spot. But for a lot of people, it is the landing spot. And that's why they're mad at Ali Wong, because they need to be mad. And they don't want to ever question why they need to be mad. And I guarantee if you go on those people's timelines or whatever, you'll see every third, fourth post is just them mad about some shit. And we live in a world right now where people mad about a lot of stuff they can't change. Debt, the government, racism, the right to their own reproductive systems. Like, there's a lot of anger out there. Yeah. And we're taking it out on TV shows and celebrities. We're treating celebrities like politicians and politicians like celebrities.
Right. And also it's one of those things, and it makes sense to why you have people that get in their emotions, but they won't vote because they're not willing to put,
because the emotion was the landing spot.
Yes.
It was for them, the end was the emotion. You're so on point with that.
And for me, it helped me analyze things. And actually, in my opinion, this is me, it built character. Like it, when I mean it built character, because I'm not going to stop at the emotions. And I've put like this, it's like anything else. Like when you work out, as you work out, you get stronger. Mm-hmm. And so as I began to utilize that skill, I got stronger in it. You can't do it one time and then just expect it to be automatic. It's something that you've got to put the grind in every day, or whenever these situations come up, be aware and alert and not slip back into those old habits. Where for me, it is a standard now. If I go somewhere or somebody's trying to explain something to me, for me to have a standard where, oh no, we're not gonna leave here until I understand. I don't care nothing about your face turning up. I don't care nothing about you getting frustrated. I don't care nothing about your huffing and puffing, because I've dealt with coworkers who will huff. Nah, I don't care nothing about that. I'm looking past your emotions, and I want you to give me the answer that I need to do my job, or the answer that I need to relay this, because sometimes me not knowing something can be very critical to the next decision that I'm going to make. But I want to make the best decision with all the information that I have. And people are making decisions and they don't have all the information. And then they get mad at people that were like, I want to wait, and I want to think, and I want to wait till we get on more information. You want to answer now because you don't want to actually wait for the due process.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of times it's taboo to be like, why do you niggas need this? You know. But yeah, back to this. Roger says keep your foot on these niggas' necks. So keep your toddlers out of the White House, keep your foot on these niggas' necks. And Valerie says babies are just short terrorists, so I get it. That's a valid point. Very valid point. All right, let's go to the voicemails. I think this might be my brother. That's one of his older beats too. He be trying to take you on a whole journey. It's only 30 seconds in. I feel like the song hadn't even started really. We got voicemails. Let's check out. We got one voicemail. Let's see who this is from.
What up, Rod and Karen? This is Jackie. I was just giving you a call, leaving a message to tell y'all I thank y'all and I appreciate y'all. Last week was the 30th anniversary that my dad passed, and y'all have always been a fixture, just listen to you guys.
Aww.
Just laughing with y'all, giving us the news and all that good stuff. But I just want to say thank you in particular for being a comforting thing in this time, as I still grieve. I'm a lot better than I was, when it first happened. But I just want to say I appreciate y'all, and I will continue to support, listen, and laugh along with you guys and learn also. All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, baby.
And we always see Jackie in the chat and stuff, hanging out. Pretty much a fixture of the chat room at this point. And I played ball with him before and stuff. Real cool dude. So we appreciate you, Jackie. And obviously we offered our condolences at the time, but I feel like that's a process that's grief is never done with people.
No, it's not.
It kind of comes and goes at times.
Yes, it does.
And I'm happy to be putting anything into this world that brings people comfort, thoughtfulness. Cause that's the other thing too. I feel strong as fuck about everything I'm saying right now, as I always do. But sometimes something else happens and you change your mind. There's times we've changed over the years. There's times where, and there's also just like the conversation and the thought that I want to have with Karen and y'all here is hopefully something you're not getting everywhere. Because I think not. Sorry, I'm trying to find a way to say this that doesn't disparage a lot of other podcasts.
Yeah, I'm trying to analyze it. Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah,
but like there's a industry of black folks that just repeat Black Twitter's thesis of the day back to Black Twitter.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts
and they
do that.
and they to me are just as flawed with the incongruence, with the lack of nuance, with the lack of thought, and they mostly come off fake, because I 100% feel like if I sat at a table with those people, they would not really feel that way.
Or not feel it strongly.
They not even strongly. The way they're talking, they will be like, oh no, niggas is tripping, but I gotta do my show.
Yeah.
And my show don't like insert random person here. So I can't fuck with them. Right. But I don't have a real problem with that person. No. You see what I'm saying? Like I get those vibes from a lot of shows, and I just don't want to do a fake ass show like that. I would like y'all to feel like at least y'all are getting some reality here. And I think just like all good comedy and all good art, the unifying thing is in the individualism. It's in Karen telling y'all about her experience on the campus with financial aid and all that. At some point, y'all were in those shoes, just maybe not the same shoes. Right. Somewhere in your life, you was like, oh yeah, I wasn't speaking up, or I might be going through that now, and I need to push through this so I can get to where I need to go. And I think that's what makes something. I think that's what makes the Blackout Tips dope. I don't think just us all sitting around pretending to be fake ass like, this tweet was popular on Twitter and I agree with it because I need y'all to talk about me the same way. Fuck that shit.
Right. And it's not the same. And when you talk about the emotions now, I'm to the point to where sometimes Roger gonna tell me to calm down, because now I don't get sad when shit happen. I get angry and I get into fix it mode. Like, what can we do to fix this? And we gonna get this right. And yes, let me live by my name and let me get the emailing people and typing letters. I become the whole full-fledged white woman of color on shit now. Like, so I went almost like to the opposite end where I was like, well, what you ain't gonna do? Ooh, you finna try. I become that person.
All right, let's go to the emails. This is the last thing. Rodney. Okay. I see you. All right, emails. Aaron writes saying, hey y'all, I read a tip somewhere that said to read 3 or 4 star reviews because they're more realistic and will talk about the positives and the negatives of a product. I don't really trust multiple 5-star reviews anymore because they all seem fake. I mean, I'd agree with that, except I be dropping 5-star reviews for everything.
Me too.
And our podcast policy, nigga. What you talking about?
You say 4 stars, we don't see it. We're blind.
You wrote the wrong place. Leonard Brothers, BGOL was a one-stop shop. Now, I knew his horny ass was up on it, okay? I don't know what his username is, but I'm sure.
Leonard was like, I was in the house, my nigga.
I'm sure he was there.
You know he was.
If I was
SOHH, he was on all the boards.
If they had a betting odds, I don't know about SOHH, but they had a betting odds of who was on BGOL in our audience. Leonard Brothers is in the top 3.
Best. Yes. And he went number 3.
Right. And you know who wasn't on there? Dale Covan. I'm sure he wasn't.
No.
Leonard Brothers says, what up, yo? Shout out to the person who mentioned BGOL in the last feedback show. Man, that place was the shit. LOL, Rod. I know you and some of my other favorite podcasters were on the old SOHH Census board back in the day. I was never a member there. Told you. But I used to read that shit all the time. I actually discovered BGOL because of SOHH board.
Okay, like, he was around. He just never signed up. Okay.
Like you said, the initial draw to BGOL was the porn. But once I started looking around, I realized there's a lot more than that on there. It really, like, I really I know how it sounds to y'all that's never heard of this or don't care, but
Right.
I really cannot stress it was actually like a hub
A
of
one-shop stop.
it was like a place for black people that were attracted to black women to hang out and talk. But also like it was more than that because there were boards that, you know, with women on them and stuff. There was like it wasn't all just horned up dudes jacking off. It was a message board that just wasn't that just had porn on it too. Like anyway. I actually did post a lot for a while. I'm not gonna tell y'all my screen name though. I know. But whether I was posting or just scrolling through some of the different pages on the board, I came across a ton of dope, interesting content. Everything from topical discussion, silly shit, software, movie. Oh, software, nigga. Oh, the programs I used to download off of BGLL. It really don't make no because there was like a thread for everything, and I'm talking about. I was getting the Microsoft Office suite off of that shit. Like they'd be like, download this shit, unzip it on your computer, and put this password in, and now you got Microsoft Office
suite. And that's when them bitches was expensive to get. You were paying hundreds of dollars for the whole suite.
And listen, I'm not even finna pretend like, cause some of y'all like, really, you downloaded it? Nigga, I was downloading the porn. If the viruses was on the shit, they already got me. So why not get a useful program? Like
why not be able to type in my reports now without having to go to the lab, to the computer lab?
Let me get Fruity Loops, and now me and my brother putting the album out. Like,
yes,
shit, why not?
Yes, and honey, computer labs probably don't even exist no more. Everybody got their own computer. Back in the day, you didn't have a computer in your room or a laptop and no shit like that. So you gotta take your ass to the computer lab.
It was my Karen's on. She made a different point, but
my bad.
I understand your point.
Yes,
it was I wasn't on the computer lab on Black Girl Online. That's crazy. They monitor those computers.
No, I was talking about for Microsoft suites. Yeah, because some people were just getting personal computers, so you might have had a computer that didn't have suites.
Oh, you mean Oh no, a lot of the computers didn't come with that at the time. I don't know if people remember this. I mean, it's a long time ago, but you would buy a computer and from like Dell or some shit, and they'd be like, oh, you can pay extra and get Microsoft Office. And I'd be like, oh, no, I'm going to just download that shit for free off Black Girl Online. Thank you. I'll take it without the $200 package. Appreciate you.
And that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah. It's just, we was talking about two different things.
Oh, my bad.
Sometimes
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sometimes you go off on your own thing. It's fine. It's like a show for, like, part of the audience is like, oh, yeah. It was my.
I bet somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I remember computer labs."
It was my
memory lane.
It was my one-stop shop for a long time. Saw lots of wild and ugly shit on there too. Yep. I think in a lot of ways, my experience there helped prepare me for social media. For sure, social media message boards definitely got me ready for social media. Like I hit social media with the ground running because I was just like, "Oh, I've been here." There was no type of person I hadn't seen, and also. The real blessing of it was that it showed me without truly becoming like trying to outdo these people. Cause I know these people that try to outdo the trolls and I don't respect those people. And I think those people are horrible people for real in real life. And that's why you got people where their old tweets are saying shit like dark skinned black women ain't shit. Cause they wanted to outdo the trolls. They were in a troll competition.
Yes.
What for me it did was show me the pitfalls of those type of people, and I didn't want to be like them, but it showed me that those people were out there, and a lot of people weren't ready for that. And it showed me that arguing with them and going back and forth with them and escalating, I saw the pitfalls of that because I had seen someone be doxxed before. I had seen someone be revenge porn before. I had seen someone be threatened online. I had seen so much shit that I never got on Twitter and felt like, well, this ain't real life. I was always kind of like, oh yeah. At least I always had a little more knowledge than others. I still made mistakes and tweeted shit that I'm sure I regret because it's impossible to tweet that many things over that long period of time without learning and growing. But I just didn't hit the ground completely thinking it was all made up. I still remember very popular users would be on Twitter like posting pictures of their titties and shit. And I'll be like, wow, that person does not understand everyone can see this and it's forever. So like 10 years from now, when you've made changes and decided to be like a chef,
Yeah, change your
someone's just
brand.
gonna be like, remember, look at her titties, like,
Mhm.
because these aren't good people. There should be no assumption of community or like we used to have a saying, SOHH is for the wolves. And that's how it felt when I got on Twitter. It was like, this is still wolf territory. This ain't safe.
Right. And it's also one of those things where for a lot of people, they still keep their handles, or some have changed their handles and just literally deleted their tweets. And so next thing you know, I'm like, well, damn, how you get the one again? That's because they was like, nope, fuck all that.
Yep. So he goes on to say, I think that's true for everyone that was on the message boards when they were popping. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Peace. Yep. And I mean, Leonard Brothers still kind of run his shit like BGOL. Like, if it's a Instagram model or somebody out there that's got the titties popping,
and Instagram be telling on you. You gonna see.
I'm not talking about Instagram. I'm talking about his Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So he'll be on Twitter, and if it's like sundress season, my nipples popping out through this dress, Leonard Brothers is retweeting that, and I appreciate him for that, because I do want to see, even if I don't, even if I would not do the same thing at this point, even if I'm just like, I'm never gonna pretend to be somebody I'm not. Is my whole Instagram is like, oh, you would like to show me your butt? I would like to see it. So I've never changed from the BGOL days. I just am a gentleman now. Okay. But you not. Arby's D&D diary says the date of these articles. Oh, so this dude Scott said, in the date on the article is April 17th, not April 1st. I don't trust it. It can't be real. Why would anyone buy or own Dungeons and Dragons dice from Arby's? So Arby's has a set of Dungeons and Dragons dice.
What? Oh, is it promoting the movie?
I guess so, but the movie's been out for over a month.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my fucking point, guys.
Who is buying these dice?
No one. And you know why? Because it's a money laundering organization. They're not selling anything in there.
And they clear, they're not even white.
They're not selling beef and cheddars or fucking 12-sided dice, because they don't need to, because it's about drug money.
They got the beef.
I'm sure their books are on the books. They're like, oh yeah, we sold 20 million sets of dice. And like, 20 million sets of dice, that don't add up. Well, that's what we did.
Who bought all these dice?
And don't look in the background and see
these dice looking like crystal pieces.
Don't look in the back and see Pusha T fucking in there in the kitchen cooking something up. Don't worry about that.
Mm.
The only thing that touched them pots is cocaine.
Nothing to see here.
Absolutely hilarious. This is our girl Sid, who says, God damn, this weed is hitting. High Rod is absolutely my favorite rod, mostly because I listen to the show High, so that's how I'll be feeling too. Man. So then you got to hook up, DM me on Instagram, girl. I need to. I'm almost out of gummies. Karen, you are brilliant, and I love the way nigga slides out your mouth so smooth and southern. Love y'all. Heart emoji. Thank you.
Thank
love
you.
You too.
It's my favorite word to say.
DM me about the weed. The gummies. 2698 grievance aggregators. I'm almost out. Hello, Karen and Rod. This will be some TMI about myself, but I'm trying to make a point. LOL. All right, Aaron, go on. I started going to therapy at the beginning of the year, and it's helped me a lot. It's helping me a lot. One of the things I had to come to terms with myself is a constant need to keep my mind busy, because I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts and sit with myself. While I don't use social media as much anymore, I keep myself busy by listening to podcasts, watching TV shows, movies, going out to eat, hanging with friends every weekend, etc. Therapy is helping me realize that I'm uncomfortable with my thoughts because I'm scared to think about my life, what happened to me growing up, dealing with my parents and others, and just not being comfortable with who I am. Hence the need to constantly do things. I'm doing better now, but it's still a lot of work. I say all this because maybe one of the reasons people love to have hate communities online and are always trying to pick apart celebrities and shows and everything else we see in the media is because they could not be okay with themselves and not ready to deal with their own personal lives. So they need to project their insecurities on the others, and they also get validation that they can't give to themselves. Nigga, that's bars.
100% agreed. Yes, you have hit the nail on the head. It's one of those things to where, like I said, this is coming from somebody who has been there. So for me personally, there's always truth behind that. Like I'm to the point now where when somebody comes at me with heavy emotions and this is where the emotional intelligence, I have to look past the emotion that's staring me in the face and look behind it and be like, okay, there's something else going on, but you're hiding that with this anger, or you're hiding that with this yelling, or you're hiding that with this projection, or you're hiding that with this sadness to distract the fact that you don't want to face the problem. And I've come to what you were saying before, all jokes aside, I feel like, and it's not everybody, I feel like some reason why some people have big families is because they use their children and their mate as a distraction to not deal with their own lives. Because as long as they can have the excuse of, oh, I'm pouring into my kids, or I'm pouring into my mate, or I'm pouring into these other things, they never have to sit with the reality of let me get in my own thoughts. And the reason why I said is because as children grow up and leave and begin to do their own shit, all of a sudden you're sitting there looking at your mate, significant other, or however your family dynamic is, and all that shit comes back up 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. You didn't resolve nothing. You just delayed it.
The thing for me is like the process. Like I love how you talk about his therapy helping them, because what I think people hear, and I'm sure some of them heard it today, even though it's not something we said, what people hear is like, y'all mad over a joke? Damn, bitch. You know, like that's what they're hearing. But what I'm saying is, I understand finding that joke distasteful and possibly even offensive, or to not even be a joke, that maybe he really did do that shit. I understand the anger that comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you find out context. It happened in 2014. Okay. Well, 2014 seems like the time to be the most upset about it. It is 9 years later. Nobody else came forward. Nobody came forward. Actually, not even one person came forward. Like, even on some like, he does this. Okay. He apologized for it. Okay. Not a funny joke, dude, bro, cringe apology, but still. So at this, you know, and then we now want to step to the next segment, which is, and now we need to destroy this product and the people who made it, just tangentially because he was in it. Because they know him in real life and are friends with him and are not as disgusted as those of us who just found out about his 2014 comments in a 2-minute clip on Twitter. Those are the questions. Those are the moments where you start to go, wait, I'm with you on A. Mm-hmm. The joke, I don't like the joke. Is at least it's very distasteful, and it does make me suspicious of him. 9 years later, he can't be the 7th billed person on the TV show, or else the first 2 people billed and the creator are trash. I'm sorry. I actually don't agree with that. I actually do think that's too far. And I'm fine. And I don't feel like I'm a bad person or need to prove to you that I'm a good person in any way. It doesn't really say much about me either way, because I didn't do any of this shit. So it's crazy. Enjoying it, watching it, or not watching it has no reflection on me or you. To me, the need for the community around the agreements of it, that says more about it, about you to me. That's the part that makes it go, huh? And I love that people are doing the work and going, I don't need that. And there's a whole shit ton of people that are going to be doing this shit for years to come, because we didn't now know how social media would affect us. And now therapists, I'm sure in every office, are dealing with the shit that we've seen and dealt with that we wouldn't have unless it was for social media. And I think that's good work to be doing.
Agreed. And it's also for me, one of the reasons why, and Roger brought it up, and the person that wrote the letter even brought it up. Guess what? They started doing shit offline. I started going to see real friends. Like it is a shift.
I keep saying, every one of these stories, you're going to see the same commonality is eventually it gets into a smaller social circle and pulling you towards offline. The online part of this is the part that's crazy. I'm sure people listen to our show all the time that aren't on social media, and they're like, why are they talking about this? Why are they obsessed with this? Why do they care about this? And it's like, because I've been through it. And I wish there was a podcast that was talking like this, that wasn't some like opposite version of podcast, which is, you know, the right-wing version of this is these fucking liberals and their cancel culture.
Everybody woke.
I'm not like that. I can understand the problem with the first joke and not agreeing with it. But I am like, when you telling me to burn down the village and you getting out the pitchforks, I think I can ask you like why.
Yeah,
And if
we
you
need
and
to
if that
justify these reasons.
and if that's offensive to you, maybe you should think about why. Because you know what I'm not offended by? Or why? Because some people write in here all the time. Why? How come y'all feel this way? Or why about this? Or can you? Yes, because I actually have thought about it.
Mhm.
Anyway,
And people get offended when they haven't thought about it, and that's
Yeah.
why why that anger and that defense mechanism kind of springs up. And also the thing about it is, once you quote unquote begin to realize these things, you begin to move more of certain activities offline. All of a sudden, the online connections aren't as tight and aren't as close. And I can't speak for nobody else, but it was an emotional shift and almost a relief sometimes. And all of a sudden, then when you go back online, you have a different set of eyes and you view it differently. You're still on there, but you view it differently, and you see the traps and you see the things that triggered you and you see the things that made you do these things, and you adjust your behavior accordingly.
John says, "Good morning, Alpha Rod and activist Karen. Rod, I am so here for your grievance aggregator serving. Preach. It is so true. And you can see it everywhere. The focus of your discussion was on petty and trivial stuff, but even when it's serious and important issues, the same addiction to constant outrage is really common in the world of activism. Finding and calling out injustice is righteous and gets you a lot of clout with other activists and organizers. So naturally, it's very easy to fall into the same cycle where you're just on a never-ending quest to sustain indignation. It's really addictive. It can really lead to some messy and unhealthy places, and not just for the individual. I would posit that this constant need to be outraged is something that Vladimir Putin recognized and weaponized with disinformation campaigns to help elect Trump and effectively get us to where we are today.
Come on.
Because at the end of the day, it's the same psychological condition that fuels lynch mob behavior. The reason online dog piles happen so often is because they feel good, righteous, and powerful, and there is a whole environment set up to reward everyone who joins in and stigmatize anyone who doesn't. I agree completely with that. I'm watching this. I finished watching this docuseries, and the first 3 episodes I highly recommend. It's called Web of Make Believe. It's on Netflix. But if you really want to look into like online, how online stuff and these tools has really warped us or allowed people to like manipulate and become different people and be cruel and be punitive and be all this stuff, you should look into it. I think it's an easy watch for most people because it's all on the side of the stuff we already agree about. Like, you won't be challenged philosophically, but I would challenge you to think about even the people you agree with and the tools. Like the tools of doxing somebody, even when it's our side, is still doxing somebody.
Right.
The tools of ostracization, the relationships people build because they're damaged, quote unquote, and alone, and dealing with psychological issues and stuff. All that stuff, I think people would be edified to see that docuseries. On a related note, I just so happened to stumble across this article, how to spot collective narcissism in social media posts yesterday. Anyways, one of the great ironies about all this is how these grievance aggregators seem totally unaware that what they do is essentially no different than Tucker Carlson. My nigga.
Right.
This is a white person. I'm sorry. No, not my nigga, but you know what I mean? My person, my dude, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. They both are the opposite end. They are reflection of each other, and the extreme is the extreme on both ends. And when you try to tell somebody that you are literally no different, they be like, I'm different. No, you're not. The action, the foundation of what you're doing is no different.
Yeah, and like I said, when it's other people, we see it.
Right.
We just don't want to see it in our people, man. I don't blame you, because who the fuck want to think about the people that they're consuming as, wait a minute, motherfucker, you, every time I look at your feed, you got me mad about something.
Mm-hmm.
Am I being manipulated? Am I being used? Like, what does this mean? Why the fuck? I don't want to think about it, because it also means I need to accept I can be used.
Right.
I need to accept that I can be manipulated and have been. So I think those things are fucking huge, but you just don't see people really talk about it.
Yes, and to piggyback on what you were saying, because once you admit that, you have to admit that you've been duped, which means you have to also admit that you're at fault, which means you also have to acknowledge the actions that you did. And for some people, depending on the situation, which means you also have to acknowledge for some people they have this thing, but it's hard for them to forgive themselves, which means it's hard for them to move on.
Also, what we're really, I think, bigger than everything you just said, even though everything you just said is valid, the real thing with online is you're going to lose your community.
Yes, you are.
And most people are too scared. They too scared to lose their community. I've seen it happen. There are people I know who are fucked up that have large communities right the fuck now. And as people watch them be fucked up, they stay in the community. You know, they watch them be fucked up to other people, and yet they kick it with them because it's like, yeah, because at some point I would have to leave this and be like, find more people, start over. And I just would rather stay with what I know. Does this person say some toxic shit every once in a while? Sure. Yeah. Do they act up? Do they go off on people? Do they? Yeah, but not me yet, you know? And I think a lot of people are getting down like that because it's kind of like we never stopped being in junior high, you know? I'm only a couple episodes in the beat, but really loving it so far. But even in Swarm, though it wasn't as front and center as the focus, it felt like Dre's obsession was just as much about addiction to rage as it was about her parasocial relationship with Naja. It definitely was. I think Dre's entire thing was how fucked up her life was. And the obsession with Naja and the obsession with finding people online that didn't like Naja and all that shit. All that stuff was like, I don't want to think about how I can't make the rent. I don't want to think about how I'm living in my car. She was down bad, you know. I don't want to think about, you know, the reception or lack of reception people had towards my sexuality. I don't want to think about being bullied as a kid. I don't want to think about this shit. So, but I think about Naja and that makes me happy. So everything's gonna come about that. Hope for more closure or even a comeuppance in the finale episode, but I guess that's why Donald teased us with the only God makes happy endings, i.e., I know you viewers all want to see Dre crushed or at the come to Jesus moment, but nah, here's what you're getting, LOL. I actually think it was deeper than that. I think we know she was brought to justice because the episode before that. So the episode before that feels like a documentary, but the whole point of that documentary is to be like, we know who she is because she got caught. Right. So then the next episode after that is, I think when it says only God makes happy endings, it's Dre's happy ending because Naja is her God. And that whole like ending that we're talking about, without giving it too much of it's like a way that they could not Queen and Slim this shit. And I think that's why it was so goddamn brilliant. Like that idea is something that is extremely hard to get around when you write a protagonist who is the karmic debt they have for doing terrible things needs to be paid, right? And here they go is like that happens off screen essentially. We never really see her really get arrested or any of that shit. We just kind of see her get her happy ending in her mind. And I think that was fucking brilliant. I think once again, a show no one got to talk about because y'all rather talk about what you don't like. And now y'all want to spend time arguing about Donald Glover or not Donald Glover and erasing the work of the black women that made the show work and wrote all the shit. Y'all rather do that shit than be like, I would like to engage with this art. And so I don't find it worthwhile even discussing.
Right.
Always love when Mike Kaplan joins the show. He's so funny and brings great insights into mindfulness. He could make serious bank if he ever decided to start a cult for hippie white people. I'd probably join. He probably could. Shouldn't have shaved down his beard if you want to make that cult money. Rod, I know there was stiff competition for your February calendar, but damn, Clarence Thomas seemed like he's just miles ahead of everyone else. Well, that's why he was the last. That's why he was the last one for February. Like every time you think he can't get any worse, he just like hold my Nazi memorabilia. I wonder, did Jason Whitlock and the rest all have Michael Jordan style posters of Clarence on their wall? Well, none of these.
Something to aspire to.
Well, that's the problem. None of these people would ever have black people on their walls of art. So, dude is something else. At least he's crushing the black capitalist game. P.S. The best part about Karen's sudden burst in volume are windows involve the N-word, and I have to suddenly frantically try and roll my windows up before my mostly black and Latino neighbors get the wrong idea. It always keeps me on my toes. Cheers, stay safe, John. Oh, you living dangerous.
I'm not trying to get you hurt, baby.
Yeah, you living dangerous over there. Oh, somebody just sent in a YouTube comment. So this is now the last day. John Wick took me the fuck out of here, had me spilling my ramen out. Seriously. I also happened to volunteer in a wild animal rescue facility and had to grab a few opossums up just like that. Had gloves by nature of the work, but just wash hands very well if you don't, like she didn't. Tail holding doesn't hurt them. Their tails are made for it. They love to hiss and growl like they're fierce, but it's to show that they mostly just want to be left alone and most often run away. The babies are kind of ugly, ugly, kind of adorable. Fun fact I learned while volunteering is that they don't carry rabies as their internal body temperature is too low for the virus to survive, and they eat mosquito eggs and larvae, helping to control the bug population. Ugly but useful critters they are. Thank you, Carrie Moon.
Thank you. I did not know that.
And that's it, guys. That's the whole show. We appreciate everybody for coming through.
We did a lot of talking.
Yeah, it was an old school feedback with a very long one there. A lot of people are gonna skip, but they're gonna miss a lot of good conversations and thoughts. And a lot of motherfuckers, honest to God, like, not to toot our horns, a lot of you motherfuckers need to hear this shit. And that's the sad part. The people that need to hear this shit will never hear it. And I'm not saying you just need to listen to what we say and do what we tell you. I'm saying you need to think about this shit. You don't have to land where we land. But the lack of thought and the instant reaction to everything is fucking.
It's draining you, dog.
And if you can't see how it's destroying you, how it's harmful, and it's been years of it and it's unending, man, I really feel bad for you, because it's gonna have a cost at some point, and you don't have to always be carrying the fucking sword for everybody. You know, I've seen y'all. The angriest people online, I've seen the stuff they share about their real lives. And no wonder, nigga. It's not rocket science. We're not all that unique, guys. Human beings are almost like robots. If some shit is going wrong, it's a reason now you need to be canceling the next celebrity, because you don't want to think about, the rent, or you don't want to think about the job or the relationship. Y'all know what it is. So anyway, man, appreciate y'all. And we'll be back with you soon. It's gonna be a really busy week for me the next couple weeks. So we may or may not get to the 5 shows a week. We'll see. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Peace.